broken bones, wounds that never heal. Minds on the edge, feel the raw deal. Chaos in the ring, sweat dripping rain. Tear down the walls, feel the unchained pain. WrestleManiacs attack, no turning back. WrestleManiacs attack under the blood moon. WrestleManiacs attack, no turning back. WrestleManiacs attack under the blood moon.
What is going on, balls? The WrestleManiacs back again. It's another episode. WrestleMania 41.
Cannot believe we're here, man. 41. Insane. I mean, Jesus, 21 doesn't even feel that long ago. That's even the crazy part.
20 years? It was 20 years ago.
Man, that's wild.
Brother.
Hey, welcome, everybody.
We're getting old, brother.
So, yeah, it's going to be a fun show. Night one, we're actually also doing this tomorrow night. Uncle Bill is, I don't think he's coming. So I'm going to remove him as soon as possible from the thumbnail. As soon as I get off here. I don't know what's going on with him. He's always standing up these WrestleManiac shows. So I think we kick him out of the team, boys. I think he's out.
You dropped the ball, brother.
Yeah, what did they say? What did Michael say about? No, what did Triple H say about Michaels when he kicked him out of DX and brought in the other guy? Did he say something like "you dropped the ball" or something?
Yeah,
I think he did too. But I always remember like Hogan saying that to the Giant when they kicked him out of the NWO.
Yeah. Man, I think before we go into detail with the show and go match by match and talk about it, I'm just kind of curious of everybody's overall opinion on this. And everybody's not going to have to agree with me, but man, I thought tonight sucked big time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
yeah, I called it mid-mania.
I'm like, dude, I would never watch this again, ever.
Mhm.
Well, it definitely.
I'm curious what you guys have to say.
It definitely come across as, you know how they have the WWE Championship and they have the World Championship separated, right? So this is definitely the lesser of the two nights, is what it comes across as to me. It has a lot of matches in it that were really just thrown together.
Glorified Raw matches, basically.
Yeah.
Right, but no matter what, though, should it be? Like, it's okay. Oh, it's night one. Night two will be better. But, like, dude, imagine buying those tickets, like, for tonight and spending all that money. I would have been like, this is fucking Raw, dude.
I would never.
Nothing happened. Like, Triple H had an interview the other day, and they're like, yeah, the build-up's been a little bit weird because it's so far into April. He's like, oh, don't worry. Wait till Mania. There's a lot that's going to happen. What fucking happened, dude? One thing? Like, I don't know.
Well, it was
I felt like tonight was like,
the results for tonight's show was extremely predictable as well. Like, there was nothing that really was surprising.
I will agree with that because I did like a prediction thing on my Facebook page earlier, and I got every single match correct except for the El Grande Americano match, which is kind of unfair because they replaced Ray with another Ray. So, like, but because I thought for sure, it's interesting to think about, like, you know, because that match, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But do you guys think, like, if Rey Mysterio hadn't been replaced, that the outcome of that match would have been different?
I don't think so. I don't. I think there's something with this gimmick here that I think they're going to try to run with. Like,
I'm glad they're keeping it going.
Yeah,
I actually really enjoy it.
We're just at the beginning with this, yeah.
Yeah, you wait. They just acquired AAA. He's going to become that champion. You watch.
Well, yeah, like I can see that because, but before that announcement and everything about the acquisition of AAA, I was kind of hoping that the whole character would have ended tonight and he would have been unmasked and it'd be just done with. But you bring up a good point about the acquisition of AAA. So yeah, they could go so far with this. And if you think about it, about a month or so ago, they announced that they acquired Lucha Underground as well.
Oh, Wow.
Isn't Del Rio the champion?
Dude, they fucking better not. He needs to go. He needs
He's
to
the champion, right?
They
I
I don't
can't.
guess he
know.
is.
I haven't kept up with that.
I'm
There's
pretty sure he is.
CMLL as well in Mexico.
Yeah,
So
well-
maybe he's the champ over there. I'm not really sure.
I would be. I mean, Triple H too. Like, there's such heat with those two guys. I mean,
Yeah.
does anybody want to see Del Rio back? Really?
I don't know. I don't.
No
I think-
way.
Rio does.
Ultimately, I think what they're doing with that, I don't know if we'll see too many AAA wrestlers actually on like WWE stuff, but they're gonna kind of make that the south of the border WWE, because that's one country that they have. When was the last time that WWE was in Mexico, like on any sort of significant basis? I can't recall.
I mean, like you mean like televised stuff or?
Well, anything of note other than just maybe a house show or two.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have yet to do a pay-per-view there, man. And let me tell you something. I think this is the beginning. It's a great idea. I think Japan is coming as well. I think that they're
AEW's like, who the hell are we gonna work with? Like,
Well, I mean, if you look at it, like, so right now AEW is kind of doing stuff with New Japan,
Mhm.
but I mean, I know that WWE has recently partnered up with Noah, which is another Japanese wrestling promotion over there. But I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of big things happening, like internationally with the WWE and just wrestling in general right now. Because I mean, if you follow New Japan, a lot of the guys from New Japan are starting to leave that promotion. Like one of their biggest guys, Tetsuya Naito, he just left New Japan. So, and he was like one of their biggest stars in the company. So definitely something's happening.
It may be just one of those deals where I don't think they need to own New Japan, but get a larger promotion and some promoters behind them over there. And maybe they could revive like the All Japan name or something like that and make that like the WWE of Japan.
You know,
there's
they've got
a
the
lot
money to
going
do
on,
that.
man. I mean, even look at some of the talent that we didn't see tonight. Like Karrion Kross and Natalia both wrestled at like the GCW pay-per-view like last night, right? So like, when have we ever seen this happen where all of a sudden now it's like WrestleMania weekend and like, oh yeah, you guys can go and work this other pay-per-view or this other event with this other organization. It's just wild because, I think the biggest thing is like, suppose Natalia and Karrion Kross got hurt over there. Then what? Then they're out. Like, it's cool. I like the idea that like giving these people some freedom to kind of get their name out there and work in other places, but it's just so not WWE that it kind of boggles my mind still that they're even going this route. And I'm happy they are, but because it seems like they're kind of acquiring all these other companies and forming these relationships where it's almost like they're purposely just going to make AEW like the lone wolves, like by themselves. And at that point, it's just like, they're just going to sink them.
I said the same thing earlier. I was talking to another one of my friends about that, and I said it just, they're acquiring all these different promotions and like kind of, they have evolved now, Lucha Underground, AAA, Noah from Japan, and and they're working with TNA. They don't own TNA, but they're working with them like consistently right now. And I just think that it would be kind of funny if they just kind of acquired all of these different promotions into like one big grouped program, except for AEW. It's just because, and I feel like that's AEW's own fucking fault because WWE has opened that door to work with them several times in the past, and Tony Khan is so petty that he won't fucking do it because he just wants to be like the top dog. Well, I'm sorry, Tony Khan, that's not going to happen. You're not going to overcome the empire that is WWE.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad lately in the sense that didn't Nick Khan come out and basically say like, listen, anybody in AEW's contracts expire, like we're willing to talk to you and work on making you a star like we did with like we're doing with Ricky Saints and Ethan Page and Jade Cargill and all these other people. They're like, the door's open. So before you sign your contract, come talk to us first. Like, and a lot of people are saying like, listen, at this point, I'd rather become a more household name than maybe take the extra money from Tony Khan at this point. Like, and I can see a lot of these people wanting to do that because no matter what anybody says, ultimately as a kid, their goal was to work for WWE. And even if it's only to get over there for a short time and then bail, I mean, it's a whole different avenue when you get your
Yes.
name in those
Yeah.
in that kind of organization. So it's just wild now that basically like they just opened the doors and basically told these other guys like, "Yep, come on over, we'll talk." And that's going to be an interesting situation. It's going to basically be like AEW is going to probably become like WWE of like 10 years ago because all their homegrown guys are going to try to come over here and WWE is going to be like, well, they're young. We'll throw them in NXT and see what happens. And AEW is going to be just like big shows and Moxley's basically at the end of the day.
Oh,
Like,
God.
That's what it feels like to happen. Because that chick's coming over already, the new chick, right? Mariah May is already like planning on coming over already. And she's like kind of like their new star, right? So
I think
don't know.
Paige is coming back too.
Paige.
Well,
Well, that's another reason why I'm like they cannot bring Del Rio back if they have any plans to bring Paige back. That would
I
be
don't
a
think they're
fucking
going to bring Del.
disaster.
I mean, it may be one of those deals where they keep Del Rio in AAA, but like you never see him on.
That's what I
WWE.
think because he wasn't there tonight at all, and I'm like, they got all these people from the company there, the president and all that stuff of AAA, but like, where's the champion?
Well, and this
and they even
wasn't-
had a superstar on the roster that was there, but the
Vikingo,
champion wasn't there.
yeah.
I don't even
exactly.
think this was like just a spur of the moment. I think they've probably been working on this for many months, maybe a year or longer. They've been working on this deal.
Yeah, it's
And it makes, the signing of Penta and Ray Phoenix and stuff make a little bit more sense too. Not that those guys aren't great, but those guys can headline those big AAA events and be the big draws there for sure.
That guy that they featured that Mark was talking about, Vikingo, that they, I think that they have. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his matches and stuff, but that dude is incredible in the ring. I mean, he does a lot of like spot monkey stuff, but it's super cool, like how it comes across, and just what they're doing right now with Penta and Ray Phoenix and WWE, and they're kind of like pushing those guys and kind of marketing them as like the new like Lucha Libre stuff towards kids and everything, because Rey Mysterio is probably on his way out here very soon. So that guy is going to be huge, I think.
And he's a younger guy too. So
Yeah.
for those that don't know, Penta and Ray Phoenix and Rey Mysterio, those are all older guys. It's not going to be around forever.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's interesting. Like I actually watched a lot of AAA and CMLL back in the day on DirecTV. They used to have, I think it was Univision or something like that, used to carry their shows. So I like the style, like the whole style of it and everything. Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see how much they try to bring it to the U.S. as far as like Netflix or Peacock or whatever as well. And see if I think that style could bring in a different audience to the damn product as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just to go back to Garrett's initial question about like how we felt about tonight's show. So I guess I'm a little bit different. Like there was only 2 matches on the card that I didn't really care for. Didn't really pay much attention to them just because I wasn't interested in the stories for them, which was the New Day and the War Raiders match, and then the Jade Cargill and Naomi match. Because like I think Mark said, it was just kind of like filler stuff for that you would see on Raw. And
let me tell you something though. The big guy, I get their names mixed up. The bigger guy
Ivar
with the beard,
Yeah.
dude, that guy is so great, but that gimmick sucks. Like he needs a better, like sort of gimmick or something. He does some amazing shit for somebody that big.
You could hear a pin drop when they came out. It was
But yeah,
no
nobody
reaction.
cares.
Yeah.
But I thought they changed their gimmick. Like I looked on Raw a couple months ago and they were like bikers, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're more like Raw now. Like they kind of feel like regular badass dudes. And then they came out again with all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I thought they kind of ditched that gimmick.
well,
That
that
was for Clash of Clans though. The gear that they had tonight, that was more for that video game that they were trying to put over. It's a mobile game called Clash of Clans.
Yeah, and those guys like so they changed from the Viking gimmick that they were doing back just to the what was it, the War Vikings or something like that.
What was like? Didn't they have like a different name too when they debuted?
Viking Experience.
Yeah, everybody hated it.
So yeah,
It's
but
a
like,
Viking.
As
That's
soon
a
as
Vince
Vince left,
name,
Triple H
man.
is like, nah, we're gonna go back to the other ones. Like,
That
But
was
the
a
problem-
Vince name.
Yeah, and
Viking experience.
the problem is that they kept their names though, the Eric and Ivar, and I was really hoping when they switched them back to the War Raiders that they would go back to their old names, which is Raymond Rowe and Hanson,
Yeah.
which is what is pretty much why they what they gained notoriety from when they were in Ring of Honor. Well, they were called War Machine in Ring of Honor, but you know what I mean. Like they were just kind of like they didn't really have characters. They were just like normal guys, but they were just come out there and just beat people's ass.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys saw, I posted a Instagram story during that match because I worked the indies in what year would it have been? Maybe like 08, 09-ish. And I had a match with Ivar at the time, and he was known as Todd Hansen. Wow. So there's like a picture of him like choking me in the corner. And I posted the picture on Instagram, and I said, "I hope you lose your belt tonight because I still haven't forgave you for choking the shit out of me."
That's hilarious.
Nice.
But he was great then too. You know what I mean? Like, and he was kind of like when I was there. This is 08, 09. He was kind of like more of a vet in that organization or federation or whatever at the time, and he was one of the guys that everybody was like looking up to. Mm-hmm. And then years later is when he started to really make it with like Ring of Honor and then to WWE and stuff. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I thought he was like kind of towards the end of his run, right? When he was like working the indies with me, but that was like the beginning of his career basically. Right. But he had worked so many years in the indies around my area because I used to go see him before I even got involved in that stuff. And it's just crazy to kind of see how far he's come. And he's been doing this a long ass time.
So let's dig into this show though, because there is quite a bit to talk about. The show itself was 4 hours. The pre-show was 3 hours. I think the post-show is still going on while we're doing the show.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of stuff to watch today and over the whole weekend. The Hall of Fame thing was almost 5 hours long. I haven't even started to watch it yet.
It ended almost 4:30 in the morning.
I can't do that, boss. I just can't.
I watched it before Mania, so it was good though. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, the very tail end of the post or the pre-show, and they were hyping it the whole fucking night, man. And I love Stephanie McMahon, like but goddamn, this show that she's got is go away heat written all over it. Stephanie's place is on ESPN.
Ridiculous.
I didn't see any of this. I don't know what that is.
I think the first episode was she interviewed Punk, I think.
It's like a lifestyles thing with WWE people.
Yeah,
and it's Stephanie
that's what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's on ESPN.
It's kind of cringy, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, she's come on now. But anyway, Dana White did like the opening video for, talking about Las Vegas and WrestleMania being in Vegas again. Mm-hmm. I thought Dana White hated WWE.
That's what I thought. But I guess the whole partnership, they're like, hey,
the TKO stuff.
We're all buddies now,
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what, though? It was, I don't know. I feel like he almost kind of did them a disservice when he was the voiceover for that because it just felt like he was reading off like a cue card or something. Like there was no passion behind anything he was saying. It just sounded like he was reading papers.
Well,
I mean, like they could have got anybody to do a better job.
Yeah.
When I wasn't really halfway paying attention, I thought it was Bubba Ray Dudley doing the voiceover because he talked almost exactly.
I swear to God, I did. Same
voice.
Yeah, I thought it was him too.
They could have saved all kinds of money and just had Bubba do it.
Yeah,
sure, yeah.
Jelly Roll's back though. He's lost nearly 200 pounds, and he looks smaller for sure. But goddamn, how fucking big was that dude? If he lost 200 pounds, and he's still pretty damn big, but I mean, good for him.
Because he wants to get in the ring, bro.
I guess. Yeah, he's channeling his best Percy Sledge. Some bitch ripped off Percy Sledge. I'll say it every time I fucking talk Jelly Roll, which is going to be a lot because this motherfucker is on everything. But anyway, he was singing God Bless America to kick the show off at 7 o'clock. And the opening match, the announcers tonight, Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, and Wade Barrett. This was Wade Barrett's first WrestleMania as a commentator.
Yep.
So they must be really high on him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's doing a great job. I mean, because I think he started out, as far as commentating goes, he started out on NXT, and I think they were really impressed with like what he was doing there, so they moved him up to the main roster commentators really quick. And I just kind of think he kind of adds kind of a really unique flair to the commentating team. I don't know what it is exactly yet, but I like it.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. I hope he keeps all of his own stuff. I mean, he's got his own style to it, and I like what he brings to the table. But there's a couple times here and there it seems like he's doing some of the quote type stuff that Cole does, and I just hope he doesn't go in that area. Just be
Do you
Barrett.
think that that's something that they put in creative for him? Though?
I think so. Yeah,
because
It
they
seems
want
like it.
that Michael Cole style to kind of continue.
Well, Michael
Yeah.
Cole's kind of producing a lot of the commentators too.
Oh,
I
you're right.
believe.
Yeah,
So that might be part of it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the show that he does with who's the guy? Or is he even on that show anymore? I can't keep the commentators straight. Who's the Raw commentators now?
McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee and
Michael Cole's on both? Is he on both
Wait a
SmackDown
minute.
and Raw again?
No, I think Wade Barrett and that Joe Tridiano or whatever the fuck
Oh,
his name
right.
is.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, the guy that's the NFL guy, like he does NFL football too. Who like he's a great announcer, but he don't know a damn thing about wrestling. You can kind of tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Testro, that's his name. I always forget that guy's name because I don't give a shit about him. So
The most
sorry.
Italian last name of all time. All right, so Jey Uso versus Gunther is the opening match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this one, like I was kind of going back and forth on. At the same time, if Jey was to have lost this match, which he won,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about the match itself, but Jey would have been done had he not won that title. Like he would have been totally done the way that they set this match up and everything. So I was kind of thinking that he had to win, or he would go back to mid card Jey Uso.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I think he won that Rumble, and to me, I haven't been watching it every week or whatever, but I kind of feel like when I've seen it, I've almost felt like he's kind of fumbled this whole thing personally. Like I saw a promo the other week where he just kept saying, like he reminded me of like Kevin McAllister. He's like, "I'm not afraid anymore," and I'm like, "This is
Yeah.
this is the like what we're going with as the story is that he's not afraid anymore of this guy." And I knew he had to win. Like I think to me, Gunther's a better champion. I don't see Jey Uso as a good champion, but I mean, if you want to throw him a bone before he retires, I am happy he's where he is. I mean, I'm happy to see that after all these years, he actually made it to where he is. Like, he's a good character. He's good. I just don't see him as like a long-lasting champion at all.
No,
I guess it's
he'll
gonna
lose
be
that belt
the
really
Kofi
soon.
effect
Let me
or
tell you where
whatever.
they messed up, though, okay? And they could have protected Gunther a little bit. We understand, okay, he's got to lose the belt, right? To me, Gunther's character, Gunther does not tap out.
No, the ending
Yeah.
was weird on
That
a
was
couple of these
awful.
matches. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys
So,
noticed that too. A couple
he
times when the
would've-
match ended, I was like, that's how they did
And
it.
he
He
tapped
should've-
out in like 3 seconds. I was like, what
to
the
his
hell?
own finisher too.
He should have
Right.
passed out. That's how you do it.
I thought it was a very weird. Like, I'm glad to see Jay win it, and because I'm a big mark for Jey Uso, and I mean, I did pick him for the Royal Rumble, guys. You know, I mean, that's just, so you know, I got 2 words for you if you're a Jey Uso hater out there.
So
Fuck
Rambo
y'all.
is no yeet for Rambo?
He's no yeet. You should get the no yeet shirt, Rambo. They had a
No.
yo. I don't know if they still do, but they used to have a no yeet shirt. You
Well,
should
the
get
thing
that.
is, like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of stupid, but it got over huge.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah,
probably the most over anything has gotten like that since Stone Cold and Watt, right?
But the thing
Oh,
is
yes.
with Jey Uso is that if they're going to continue to push him as a main event guy, then he really needs to work on how he talks on the mic, because if you go back to that Raw after the Royal Rumble when he won and he came out there, and I you know, granted he was getting all really emotional and everything on the mic, and he was starting to cry and all that, but you know, he's I don't know, he's not very creative when it comes to talking on the mic. And I was watching Hall of Fame last night, and they were doing an interview with him at Hall of Fame, And I don't know if he was like drunk or just high as fuck in that interview or what was going on. But like there was really something off about him. I don't know if it was just maybe just he was nervous. Really don't know. But just he really needs to kind of work on that though.
That's kind of what I feel like. I feel like every time he's got an opportunity to like get this over, it's like I feel like his promos are just fumbling this whole opportunity. And I don't know, maybe he's kind of bummed out that he was the opener. I mean, you know, he I'm assuming after he won the Rumble, assuming he was gonna be in the main event of one of the nights, but obviously that didn't happen, which again, I don't, you know, the lead up on this, of course it wasn't going to happen. But I also have other issues about the main event too, which we'll talk to when we get there. But yeah, I just think it was just it was weird. It didn't feel like he was in the spot he should have been in. And like I said, I think he's great, and I think that he's somebody that needs to be a main player. I just don't know if he's ready to be the main player yet, based on things like his promos and all that other junk.
Yeah, and you make a good point about that because, like, and I think what happened is that, like, WWE, or at least some part of WWE's, like, head creative kind of lost confidence in him after Rumble because before Rumble, if you go back and watch anything before the Royal Rumble this year with Jey Uso, just how they see how over he was with the crowd and the whole yeet thing and everything. And I think that's why, okay, let's go all in on him with the Rumble and have him win the Rumble, and people like lose their shit. Well, people did lose their shit, but in a negative way, it seemed like, because there were so many people after the Rumble that came out. I was like, what the fuck, Jey Uso? Why would you choose him as a Rumble winner and all this stuff? So I think it's just that's what happened. I think maybe they were going to go all in with him going into Mania at a point, but it has kind of seemed like the reaction from, like, you know, the internet risk community or whatever on social media and all that. So, like, okay, let's take a step back for just a second and see where we really want to go with this.
Now, where do you think it goes, though? Back to Gunther? Like, I'm even trying to rack my brain on, like, where does this go with Jey?
Well, I had an idea. I thought that, you know, because this is, like, you know, I think either you or Mark said it, that this, as a face, this is not going to last long for Jey Uso and the world title run. But could he just kind of like come out as a heel and be like, you know, not do the yeet thing anymore and just he
becomes no yeet?
And yeah, and he just kind of it kind of goes back to all that like backlash after the Rumble, like how people were starting to turn on him and stuff, and he could kind of use that as like fuel for the fire. You know what I mean?
He could almost be that Daniel Bryan effect. Remember when Daniel Bryan got pissed and was doing the no instead of the yes?
Fickle. They're fickle,
and he just kept saying no, and changing it back to instead of yes. Yeah,
or they could team him up with Cena and Rock and just create this whole stable of just like where like Rock has this stable of this taking over WWE and taking all the championships, you know, kind of like an NWO type of effect.
That actually would probably, if I had to like book it, that would get him over the most as like a cocky heel champion underneath the Rock, as like, you know, he's looking up to the Rock and be like, oh, whatever you tell. I think putting him with them and having like this like badass Hollywood looking stable, I think is probably, I think it's far-fetched, but I think that would be the most effective thing they could do with it.
Yeah, and if you look at interviews that Jey has been doing recently, he's been talking about like he has a few more years in him before he kind of switches to another like career, you know, opportunity, which means like movies or music or whatever. So with them introducing like Travis Scott in this whole story with Rock and Cena, all that could kind of play into that too, because if you remember a while back, Travis Scott did come out with Jey Uso. That was, I think, the Raw debut on Netflix. So yeah, I mean, they could do a lot of things.
If Rock was more like, if I feel like if Rock was more involved, I could see this being a thing. But it's far fetched. But I mean, I love it.
Sure, if he's going to be there tomorrow, though, right?
Yeah, like I think this would be like this would be a cool ass stable. This would keep him over as Rover for sure, Jey Uso. Without it, I'm curious to see where it goes. Just back to Gunther, and then they just I don't know. But I like your idea, and I don't think I've heard anybody even say that yet, which I think is probably would be the best case scenario for him.
So, I mean, where else would you go with Gunther though?
I don't know either. Like,
maybe
I mean,
put him on SmackDown, maybe have him go for the WWE title. That's the only logical thing to do.
I'm sure
Honestly,
sooner or later they'll have another one of those
draft.
draft things or whatever they do.
Well, I think that we may see Gunther disappear for a while after this. I think that
Didn't he say he wanted to take some time off too? Is that what?
yeah, I think he should. I
It
think
may
that would
be
be
part of
best
his
for him.
new deal that he signed. He's getting like
Take a
5 months
break.
off or something.
Like a part of me wouldn't mind seeing like if Jay is going to stay a babyface and he's going to lose that title. Like I don't know. I still think you kind of maybe they need to kind of throw Drew McIntyre a bone again because like he never really got what he wanted, which was a title, right? He still hasn't won a title since that last time, right? And I feel like he's kind of floundering a little bit now. So I don't know. I think it depends on what happens with him tomorrow, but I wouldn't mind him going after Jay and being a heel champion for a while because I think he earned it with his performance last year. And I just feel like he never really amounted to what they wanted because as soon as he was like so over, it's like everybody came back in the fold.
Well,
And
I
he
think
kinda
that's,
gets put up
that's another thing. Like talking about the match tomorrow night between him and Damian Priest. Like I think that's just another match that they kind of threw together really quick because they didn't really know what they were going to do with either of these guys because they were focusing too hard on these other stories, like with the Cena and Cody thing or the CM Punk and Rollins and Reigns thing. So like those guys kind of got lost in the mix, and I think that will probably be the end of it tomorrow, at least for a while between those two. Because I mean it's like a street fight or something they're doing tomorrow night. So I think
don't even
I
know.
don't know.
Sin City Street Fight, yeah.
What do you think though? Like the world champion. So there's 2 big championships. I think they totally need to do away with the world championship.
I agree.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
like, I mean, you can always do like a women's world title match as a main event at not one of Mania or whatever else. Like, I mean, clearly, if it's the opening match of the show and it's supposedly one of the top titles, it's a secondary
I agree.
championship.
I mean, it would give the other titles, the IC in the US, more credibility if there wasn't another world title. Like back in the day, I mean, you know, the IC title felt super important. It felt like that was like that was the next guy. When you look down the line, and a lot of it was like, you know, Warrior had it, then he became champion, and then you had Brett, then he became champion, then HBK, and then like so. I feel like it was always. You always eventually saw that IC title guy eventually get to the top, or at least get to that, you know, Rick Rude get to the main event, didn't win, but got there. Perfect got there, didn't win. But like it was a stepping stone that I feel like now you don't see that. Like, you know, LA Knight, we'll talk about that later, but like to me, that's a perfect example. Like he fits the mold of a guy that they're testing the waters out as a champion to be like, okay, maybe we'll bring this guy to the next level.
And that's the thing that I was just talking about. I think I was talking to Wes about this actually, is that, you know, the 80s with wrestling was so huge for so many people because there wasn't that many titles. And it made those championships more important at that time. You know, the less that there was, you know, there was more, you know, it was more interesting to see who would challenge for those titles or, you know, who would become the champion or whatever. So I think there's a lot of championships that they could do away with. I wish that they would get rid of the U.S. Championship, just have the Intercontinental, you know, get rid of the World Heavyweight, just a ton of belts. They just need to have maybe like, you know, 3 belts tops, I think, for the men, and maybe the same thing for the women at this point too. But you know, as many as they got right now, I just think it makes.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think they brought so many championships in? Like, I mean, like you guys were just saying, it was better back then, but it's like they got so many now. Do you think they're just using those titles as like a crutch to tell stories or something?
Like it's
sell
so,
replicas.
Yeah, well,
That's a big
merch,
that's a big market, especially when like I see photos on Facebook. People going to the people that attend these WrestleMania events and stuff are fucking rich. They're rich. 4 and 5 titles, one person buying 4 or 5 titles, $450 to like $800 a title.
Dude, there's a group
that adds up into massive cash, man.
Yeah, there's a group
weekend.
I'm in. There's a group I'm in on Facebook called Mania Club. And there was a guy that's there this weekend. He actually posted a picture of a receipt from where he went to the WrestleMania store, and he bought 4 championship belts from the store, and his receipt said like it was close to $3,000.
Well, I mean, okay, look at it like this, and this is low balling. There's 61,000 there tonight, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just the tickets let's lowball the tickets and say on an average of all 61,000, an average of probably $400 a ticket, which would probably be close, maybe close. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a lot that were a lot more than that for sure. So
Yeah.
let's
Right.
just even just
Oh, yeah.
lowball it, sure.
$24.4 million.
Yeah. Damn.
And if you add some merch onto it as well, an extra $100 a piece for merch, which would be a pretty good average. You know, I mean, that's insane.
Dang, it's insane.
So,
It really is.
yeah. But anyway, continuing on, this is going to be a 5-hour, this will be longer post show than WWE. The tag title match. And I'm glad that they included the tag titles on WrestleMania, even though they don't focus much on those titles on the show. That's something I think they could definitely improve on. But the War Raiders, Ivar and what's the one? Ivan?
Eric.
Eric and Ivar.
Eric and Ivar versus the New Day, who started off, man, when that big heel turn, that was a big thing. And I think that boosted the shit out of those guys. And then since then, it's like,
Yeah.
you know.
I've lost a lot of interest in that because like this whole the Big E thing, like they keep like, you know, that's why everybody like, you know, doesn't like they boo the New Day and stuff now because of the whole Big E stuff. And it just seemed like, you know, they were going somewhere with that. Like, okay, is he cleared to wrestle? Is he coming back? What are they doing here? And, you know, Big E was on like the pre-show today. And there was a rumor flying around this past week on Facebook and the internet and all that, saying that he was now cleared to wrestle. So I was like, oh, well, if that's true, is he going to get involved somehow in this tag match? But, you know, of course, that didn't happen. So I really don't know where the hell they're going with this.
That was their mistake from the beginning, was not following up with Big E. It's like that segment was well done. I liked it and everything.
Yeah.
But it's like when I go back to look at it, I'm like, so wait, they turned heel. We're supposed to hate them because they talk trash to a guy that they used to team with. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like no match came out of that. No, nothing. It's just
Yeah. I think
WWE
WWE is in their tag division, as much as they try to build it up. I think it's kind of sucks, really. Like they try to build it up like, oh, we got this team, this team, this team. But I was watching a lot of old wrestling this week. Like when I get hyped for Mania, I don't watch anything modern. I'll watch like WCW pay-per-views from like the early 90s, WWF pay-per-views from the early 90s. So I was watching a lot of that this week. And man, I think I messaged Wes and Aaron about this, and I said, like, tag team wrestling in the 80s and the early 90s is nothing like it was today. It's not taken serious whatsoever. So they can say I don't care if it's AEW, I don't care if it's NXT, Ring of Honor, whatever it is, when they say, oh, we got the best tag teams. Dude, I've never seen tag teams the way tag teams were back in the 80s. I don't care what FTR says, and they do these cool moves and stuff. It wasn't even about that. It was about the psychology of what made tag team wrestling work. And it was the idea of like, you know, distracting the ref. The other guy's beating him up on the side. The ref turns around. He takes his hands off. There's, you know, there was a psychology to tag team wrestling and what made it work. Like I watched a match the other day and dude, it was the Young Pistols versus fucking Fabulous Freebirds. And it was like one of the best tag matches I've seen in like years. And it's like, we're not talking about like A+ freaking guys here. We're talking about Jimmy Jam Garvin and freaking Scott Armstrong.
Well, they have
like,
so many guys.
But it was so well done. It was like it had me at the edge of my seat from start to finish with a couple run-ins here and there. There was managers on the outside. They got booted out. But it was just the psychology of like tandem offense with sneaky heel, you know, double teams and all this stuff. And I was like, this is what is missing is the basic storytelling of what makes tag team wrestling different than any other wrestling. And nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, and you mentioned FTR, like, no offense to anybody that likes those guys, but to me, they've always just been a rehash of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. I
think that they think they're a rehash of those guys, but when you look at their work, they're like, no, they're not even close. Like they think they are because they kind of look like them in build, but I mean, as far as psychology and wrestling tag team, hell no way.
And that's why they put Tully Blanchard with them as their manager there for a while in AEW.
Dude, they dropped the ball there too. Like there's not a whole lot in AEW that's memorable, and that like they just passed Monday Night Nitro for the amount of shows, right?
But
It's quality over quantity. How many memorable moments did Monday Nitro have in the
So
6
fucking
years that
many,
it was
dude.
around?
Like,
5.5 years.
well,
Moments that are still talked about today.
Yeah.
And will forever be talked about.
that's the thing that Nitro changed the whole landscape of how wrestling was looked at with the NWO and all that. And that's what pushed WWF to kind of start the whole Attitude Era. So, I mean, to try to say, like, people like, oh, well, AEW has surpassed Nitro, WCW.
Yeah, but what are the ratings though? You know
But,
what I mean?
like, what have they
shit.
done? Like, what have they fucking done?
Like nobody
That's-
watches it.
that's
So it's
one of
like,
the
well, you can
fucking,
do whatever
like-
you want. But when you look at Nitro, you're like, dude, they were like number one, like on that night in the world, like at that
Yeah.
point in time. Like those ratings were insane. So no matter if they were on longer or not, like you can't even compare.
And they
that because
beat
the amount of people that watch it.
WWF for 83 weeks straight in a
Yeah.
row.
Mhm.
And Eric Bischoff will remind you of that constantly.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
but-
100% true though.
One of the most memorable things that I remember was a promo that Tully Blanchard, while he was with FTR, cut, and it was on like one of their B shows, Rampage or something. And I think I was watching on YouTube, and I was like, holy shit, this is like the best promo I've ever seen in AEW. But they didn't even put it on their main show. That goes to show you, like, whoever's in charge there, and we know who's in charge. Unfortunately, he'll hire like every wrestler under the sun, but he won't hire anybody to help him write a fucking show or book a show.
When
like-
was this? Was this when CM Punk was still with AEW, or when was that?
This, I'm not sure on date because it's been a while because I don't watch AEW anymore. Like, I've tried, but this promo was amazing, right? And I'm like, that just goes to show you, like, exactly what's wrong with that damn company. They can't watch a promo like that and be like, okay,
There's
let's
a lot
put
of
this
things
on.
wrong with that company.
Let's put this on Rampage. I mean, it just goes to show you, like, they have no quality control, like, at all. And to be honest with you, man, like, and this, I hate to say this, but this is true. I think Al Snow said this. Somebody's going to die in an AEW ring, too, with some of the crazy,
Darby
stupid
Allin's
shit
one
that
of
they
them.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the crazy stuff that they do, man. Somebody's going to die in that ring, and that'll be the end
the
of
problem
AEW.
But has it even helped though? You know what I mean? Like I understand if you did something crazy and all of a sudden the next couple of weeks your ratings like skyrocket and like, okay, that was a turning point we needed. But like Moxley's getting spikes in his back and like it still draws like nothing. And it's like, shit, was
Yeah.
that all worth
Nobody
it? At the end
gives
of the
a
day?
damn.
And see, that's what I mean, guys. Like because I said I really liked tonight's night one of Mania. Like when it's hard for me to not be entertained when you compare it to the shit that AEW does or a lot of the others. Because I watch everything, guys. Anything. It doesn't. I don't care if it's like
You
local
know who El
wrestling.
Hijo del Vikingo was.
Yeah, I watch fucking everything. So just to compare tonight's, tonight was not terrible compared to other things.
No,
that are out
I don't
there.
think it was a
But
terrible show.
I will.
no.
I don't watch anything. So I mean, at this point, like this was like my excitement because I don't watch AEW. I listen to like podcasts, so I kind of hear about it.
I keep up with it, through Cornette's podcast.
I don't watch Raw that much. I have not watched SmackDown in probably like 5 years, probably. So I don't see anything. I'll see Raw like maybe twice a month, and that's about the extent of wrestling that I get. And I'll watch all the pay-per-views. That's about it. And I'll listen.
I guess that's where I'm just different because I genuinely fucking love wrestling. Like outside of like God and my family, it's my number one thing, like in this fucking world. And like,
sorry, wrestling, God wins just barely.
So, but listen, like, so it's to me, it's just like I don't know what it is. Like, it's like the most unique art form that exists on this planet. Like, if you think about it, everything that is connected with it, like it's just like there's nothing like wrestling. So
I think my problem is like with movies, dude. I compare everything to like when I was watching. Like I compare everything to the old stuff. That's my problem. Is I look at everything and I'm comparing it to either like from 2000 down, like in years, right? So that's why I feel like I never. And even the Attitude Era too, I would guess. But I think tonight my biggest problem was everything was just so I didn't need to have like spikes and blood and all this stuff, but I needed maybe some surprises. I think that the long build from Rumble to here kind of slowed down the excitement for some of these matches.
I
And
think so too.
I was like, I'm hoping that there's some surprises, or I'm hoping that maybe there's some shocking moments, or some shenanigans or something. But I feel like every match was just kind of very straightforward, and it just felt like a Raw. Like there was nothing that happened that I was like, holy shit. Like, we'll talk about the main event, but I mean, I could see that coming from a mile away, like before the thing even started. And I was kind of like, one or two things are going to happen. This is what I want to happen. This is what I think is going to happen. And what I thought was going to happen is what happened. But I think that's what it was. I just felt like for the lack
at the same time, though,
I wanted more surprises or something.
I'm glad that they didn't change it just because they thought it was predictable, because I've seen that happen before too, and that'd make it even worse. Right. So they went with the plan all along, which is good. But we do have 142 people watching. This is a multi-stream as well on the Born to Be Rad channel and Dead Pit. So we appreciate everybody tuning in and everything. And we do these post-wrestling shows for some of the bigger pay-per-views. And this, we're going to be back tomorrow night as well. But we're going to continue on here. This is a match that I was like, why? This makes no sense. Why would they put these two together? I love me some Naomi, though, man. I do. Like, holy shit. Like, she's one of my favorites as far as just, bam! Look at that. But these two surprise. Look, for the amount of experience that Jade Cargill has, I think that she did a solid job tonight, man. There wasn't anything that noticeable that she missed. And I wasn't expecting a whole lot with these two. And it's weird because Naomi, she's, what would you say? I don't even know if I would call her a decent worker. She's okay.
Naomi, I don't know. She's pretty solid, man.
I was gonna say, I don't think she's great. I think, like you said, solid's good. Like, I think she's a good hand. I think that she does her part. I actually kind of liked this, like her new heel persona. I think she needed this. I was so tired of Dancing Glow and all that stuff. Like that, I was so over that, man.
They should have changed that when she came back initially, like that.
But this heel like thing is kind of working, and I thought this was cool. And Jade is just, I mean, her theme, her look. I mean, she's 100% total package. Like when it comes to that. Now I'm all in on the look. I'm all in on the persona. I'm all in on the gimmick. And I get scared when she gets in that ring, though. Like, I really do get nervous for her, thinking in my head, like, I want you to be a star. Please don't botch. Because
you think she should have went to NXT maybe first and got some seasoning or conditioning? I
was talking to somebody today in a chat, some of my friends, and I was like, it was actually Freddie, and I said she'd be a good like a good heater for like even a let's say like case in point, like Ethan Page gets called up, right? Ethan Page, good worker, decent look. What is he going to do to stand apart from what they've already got? Probably nothing. But all of a sudden now he comes up. She becomes like his heater, like a China, as like a bodyguard. Gives her some time to freaking get out there, do her thing, and she doesn't have to do much. And then get her over from there. Right. I don't know if she's ready.
She doesn't need
singles yet.
She doesn't need to be one of those great workers. Like, that's the thing. Like,
but she's got to find her. She's got to find where she
female
can go.
Goldberg.
There was a couple times tonight I was like, fuck. Like, she just didn't know. Like, it almost felt like she didn't know where she was supposed to be. It got better as the match went on. I feel like they kind of got their groove a little bit, and then I thought the finishes scared the shit out of me on that one. And then I feel like it was a good presentation for her to kind of end this. And I was like, damn, that was hard hitting.
I think a lot of it just has to do with where they want her to be. Like, maybe their expectations of where ultimately they want her.
I think they want her to be like with Rhea Ripley and
that's just
sure. That's where I think they want
that
her.
Doesn't have, it's her look is the big thing. Like, there's nobody else that looks like that.
No.
So hide what she can't do and showcase what she can do. And then there you go. Like, fucking Goldberg. Do what WCW did with Goldberg. Right. He sucked. Like, I knew he sucked back in the day. But like, what he did the best was the explosive
Bianca
stuff.
was good. I think her and Bianca was perfect because they looked great. when you saw them as your tag team champs, and if you gave me like, hey, we're WWE, and you show all the champions, when you see those two girls holding those belts, you're like, holy shit, that's serious.
Yeah.
Like it worked, but she didn't have to do much. But now that she's not with her, it's like, okay, now what is she going to do? Because singles, I just don't know if she's there yet. Even though
You guys
people
think
want her
she
to.
should have worked Bianca in this match? I mean, it just
Well,
for the angle that they set up, like this doesn't really seem like a great
Is it not?
payoff
I don't
to
know
the
if it's over
story.
yet. Like I don't know if
yeah,
the
it's
story's
not.
over.
I
It's
hope
not.
not.
There's no way because
Bianca was involved as well.
That's
Yeah,
got to be that.
That's what I've been thinking for a while too. Because like if you just look at I think on SmackDown last night, so they had all of those like the three from the Triple Threat, which is tomorrow night: Rhea, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair. They were out there doing their thing, kind of continuing their story. But then out here comes Naomi. Like I'm like, okay, why is she coming out? With these other three, and then like Jade comes out, and then it kind of became this thing with Bianca being there in the ring, and just them kind of going at it back and forth. And I'm like, okay, so they're not done with this story. So Bianca is still acknowledging all of this stuff, right before her match at Mania. So definitely they're going to continue this. And this is one of these matches. This is one of those matches on the card that I didn't really care for. Like it just felt like a Raw or SmackDown match. And Alpha Romero said something in the chat, and that's exactly what I thought when I see Naomi, that she was dressed like Jason Sensation as Owen Hart. But I thought it was. I mean, I thought they did decent. Working with each other, but it was just kind of a throwaway match to me.
It wasn't a WrestleMania match. I can agree with
Yeah.
you on that. Yeah, maybe a free-for-all match, opening up the show or something.
I mean,
That
it was a
story's
hot
done.
angle. It was a hot angle that they finally are closing, which at least with these two. So I get this was the place to do it, but yeah, I just think it was. There's too many people like a Chelsea Green on the sidelines right now that deserves a Mania match, and you've got someone like Jade Cargill in there, as green as ever, having this match. I mean, she had a better angle, but Chelsea Green's great, and she's over, and she's got that title and all this other stuff. Like how can she not be in the mix somewhere?
Yeah,
And
I know.
that-
well, look at what. So earlier, Bailey's out for tomorrow. So
What happened with her anyway?
Nothing. I think that they said it was just for storyline purposes. So she's
Poor
not
Bailey,
really
though,
into
man.
it. So I think what the feel is right now is that Becky Lynch is going to replace her on that team with Lyra. But before
that's not a good spot for Becky Lynch to return, in my opinion.
no, I agree. But
I don't think so either. But it makes sense with that Irish girl, right? Like, I don't think. I would love to see Chelsea, but I don't know if that even works, though.
It's not like Lyra Valkyrie is like this big over talent though either.
No.
Like they just kind of threw her into that shit.
Yeah, like
as
I'm
well.
surprised she's got a Mania match too, and Chelsea Green does not.
Yeah.
Like,
That's another match. It's going to be kind of, I think, a throwaway match on tomorrow's show. Is because I don't really care about that, and because they're already like promoting a tag match for NXT on Tuesday with Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley taking on the winner of that women's tag championship match at Mania. So I'm like, I mean, so that's where they're going to continue this. It's not very interesting. There's really no story to it. And the thing with the triple threat tomorrow night between Rhea Ripley, Bianca, and Io, like, where I have this feeling that this is going to continue with Bianca and Naomi and Jade, it kind of tells you that, Bianca's not going to win tomorrow. So she's kind of out. Well, she was initially, I thought they were going to choose her, but where they did this thing last night on SmackDown, kind of continuing that story. I was like, oh, well, that kind of tells me now that Bianca is not going to win. She's going to stay on SmackDown with these other two girls. And so it's going to be Rhea or Io, either one, I think, because, so I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. But continuing on.
Yeah, Jade won. We haven't really talked about that. So
I mean, I pretty much, that's not a surprise. And
where they go from here, like we said, it's got to be Bianca, because I don't know what you do with either of these two anymore at this point, if this feud's over.
I think it probably continues somewhere tomorrow night. Like at some point, we'll maybe know more tomorrow, but we'll see. I don't know, maybe it could be Raw or SmackDown or whatever. This next one, again, I love Jacob Fatu. Like, I think that he's definitely a future world champ, no doubt.
Just
But,
kill
like, this was another thrown together fucking match. Like, and
Yeah.
again, a Raw match, a SmackDown match. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. And, Jacob Fatu wins. Not a surprise there. I thought that they may do some sort of storyline related stuff with the bloodline.
And Solo, yeah. And Solo, who's never had a WrestleMania match yet.
No.
Oh yeah. And
You guys think he
basically,
may face Randy tomorrow? Because I mean, Randy
No
doesn't have
way.
an opponent. I
If
hope
it-
not.
If it's Solo, I'm going to be so disappointed.
There's a couple people for me that I'm going to be disappointed. I know I'm going to probably, you guys aren't going to agree with me, but man, I think if it's Rusev, I'm going to be disappointed too.
Oh God,
I don't think WWE does not need Rusev. He's there. He's
don't.
going to be there, but they don't need him. What are they going to
They
do with
really
him? He's going to
don't.
get lost in the friggin' 2 months.
Mhm. He'll be
If it was
like
Aleister
on
Black, if it's
Andrade.
Aleister Black, I'd be like, holy shit, that's perfect because
It's gonna-
there's
I
so
like
much
that.
you can do with Aleister
I think
Black.
he's later though. He's
Him
gonna
and
be
Randy would
later.
be
Well-
a great feud, but
They
Rusev,
did-
man, I don't know. He'll get a pop for one night, and
Yeah.
then he's over.
I don't know, man. Like the thing, because it's definitely not going to be Aleister Black because they continued that kind of like tease for him on SmackDown last night as well. So like they showed a new vignette for him, and it said so like 425 or 26 or whatever, which will be next week's SmackDown. So it's not going to be Aleister. I don't
So
think.
they have a program in place for him already.
Yeah, yeah, pretty sure like that. That's where they're going with that. But I tell you what, I want it to be. Like I know, like it's probably people will be disappointed by this as well. But I just hope this thing with Kevin Owens is a fucking work, and he just attacks Randy from behind, and that
He
we
was
still
at
get
the
that
Hall of
back.
Fame thing, right?
Yeah, I saw him in the crowd. Yeah, he was there.
So,
But I mean, that's. I don't think that it would be that either because why would they even drop the match, right? Because people would be into seeing that match.
well, it's just something different,
What if they were just to bring in like a surprise, like Rob Van Dam or somebody like that that can still
I don't know about that.
somebody that can still go though. That's not like a full time guy.
I know,
Bring
but
in-
who's out there that people would like to see that would
Bring
be
in Riddle, Matt Riddle.
good for
That would be kind of cool, actually.
But do you think that they'd give all that hype and like a surprise thing for Riddle?
Well, I mean, people would definitely know, like, and kind of see the connection.
He was
between him
over.
and-
I mean, he was over.
because him and Orton had that tag team, Bro KO or whatever it was.
RK
Well,
Bro.
What about Brock?
RK Bro.
Brock Lesnar?
No.
Well,
No. he's
listen,
done.
I actually, I'm going to talk about that later, but again, this is rumors that go in and out, in and out. I heard that that they want him back now, but a week ago they said he was out. So you don't know, but
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think he's done.
I don't know. Someone said Joe Hendry. I mean,
Hey,
Maybe.
baby! Somebody said Wildfire Tommy Rich.
Oh, God. I would mark the
Go
fuck out if it was
Get
Tommy Rich.
fired up, baby, for WrestleMania 41.
I thought it would be Nick Aldis, because he did the RKO, and I was like, "Oh, are they setting up something?"
Yeah,
like,
there
he
was-
RKO'd him,
I
so
don't know, man.
and he
Like,
can
I-
go. So I don't know why they don't
Mhm.
just go that way. That would
I
be
thought
the
the
most
same
logical.
thing. I thought the same thing, but I don't know. Like I think it's going to be somebody definitely probably left field that they have signed here recently. Someone
it's gonna
in
be
the
Rusev, dude. I'm telling you, it's gonna
some
be.
And
well,
Rusev with
It's gonna
Lana.
be.
Lana
Somebody
will be back.
with Lana. You watch, and that's
Somebody-
They remarried. They're a couple again.
yeah.
So
yeah.
there was a guy that was in Ring of Honor, and he also wrestled in New Japan that they just signed too, named Jeff Cobb. And that guy's really good. But I think if they bring in Rusev back as well, I think Rusev and Jeff Cobb would make a really good tag team. Because that's something they really, because we were talking about that earlier. Like they really need to develop their tag team division right
What about
now. It's
another one I
sad.
thought of, though? Bronson Reed. Isn't it about time for him to come back?
I don't know.
No, I think he's still out for a while, man. Like he had a pretty serious injury. I can't remember what it was, but like he's out. I think for at
I
least
think he
a
broke
couple
his
months.
ankle or something like that. How long does it take for an ankle to heal up?
I think he said it was like 6 months or something, or 6 or 7 months.
So this was in November.
Yeah.
So I mean, he could maybe come back and do.
Is there anybody else of like Orton's past or something that's still hanging around?
the-
with no
yeah, that's something
contract? Like
Ted
Ted
DiBiase
DiBiase
Jr.
Jr.
I was thinking about that.
But I mean, some of the fans would go crazy for. I mean,
He'll come out. He'll be the new Nails. He'll have a Nails
Like,
gimmick with the.
I mean, does he have any
outfit on.
kind of feud with Jeff Hardy or something? Like, does he have any kind of
That
history with him?
referee, he was trying to fuck on me.
Oh God, no, not anybody but Omos. Somebody in the chat said Omos.
Oh.
No,
Hell
no,
no.
just don't do that.
God, please.
You know what's crazy though is they had the wrestling convention there. It literally could be anybody that's not
Right.
under like
But
AEW
the thing is
contract.
too is you're also got to think of like who is going to get a pop. Like you hate for it to be a surprise, and like that's like that. What was it? It was the Rumble one year when all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, like who's the secret guy? And it was like Carlos Colon or whatever. Like you don't want that pin drop like reaction of like. So it has to be somebody of name value.
Gilbert.
It's
Yeah, but I mean, you know who else was at the Hall of Fame, which I mean, I would love, but I don't think he's got enough pop for him yet. Is Cardona was at the Hall of Fame, which was kind of cool to see him in the audience. And
I think it's. gonna
I
be
love
somebody-
Cardona. Like he's like one of my favorite
Yeah,
people
nobody's
out
gonna
there
care
in
though
wrestling,
if
but
it's
I just
him.
don't think he's got enough yet for him to get over on a pop for something like that.
Man, it's got to be somebody that they have a lot of confidence in that they that's going to. Because the last time they did this was with Rollins when they brought in Cody back for his first match at WrestleMania 38. It's the same deal that they're doing with Orton. So it's got to be somebody.
Alpha
huge.
says it's going to be Bad Bunny. Please, I mean, I hope not. It's McAfee.
Oh, damn! What the fuck?
But anyway, back to this match here. Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, United States Championship. LA Knight, man, I'm over him. Like, there was a point in time when they could have pushed him and it would have worked great. They didn't push him until about 8 months after the fact, and I'm over it.
What's the holdup with that? Like, why are they just not doing anything? Like, it seems like he's basically a paper champion almost. It's
I
like he just
think-
keeps losing the title.
I think it's
Weird.
just wrong place at wrong time. I think for him, I think that if Punk and them didn't come back, I think that it would maybe be a different thing. I think there's just too many big stars now that LA Knight, as much as he was over, like he's just, you can't put all these other guys under him, right? I just don't think like with Cody and Rock and Cena and, Punk, like it's hard for him to break through as somebody new.
Yeah.
And he's not a young guy either. So that's what you got to remember. Like this dude is in his 40s, and for him to be considered like a young guy up and comer, it's hard. And I kind of disagree with Wes. I think I like LA Knight a lot. I think he's something you don't see every day, even though he does resemble some faces that we know of the past. Like he's very Austin/Rock. He is, but he's got a great look. He's got a great aura and a presence about him. I think when I look at Fatu and LA Knight, I didn't watch the build to this, so I don't know how it went, but as an outsider looking in, I can look at that and say, okay, I see this guy as the champion and I see this guy as an up and coming champion. So to me, the match works as far as star power for me because they both look like they are in the place that they should be at. Where you do with LA Knight now, I don't know, man. I mean, if this Rock stable that you're talking about happens, he would be someone I'd throw in there too.
Well, definitely. Yeah, I can see that. That's actually a really good idea. But I do like both of these guys. I probably like Jacob Fatu more so, but this is just another one of those matches. I think Wes said this, like it's just very predictable. Like I think
Haku was there at the end though. It was kind of interesting.
that was super cool because that's Tama Tonga's dad. I'm pretty sure is Haku is, but
yeah, where's what do they call him now? Big Daddy Fatu or something like that. His dad.
I must have just like been out of it. But did any of the Bloodline guys show up at all on this?
Just Solo came out there at the beginning with Jacob Fatu, but he just went to the back, so he wasn't out there with them.
They didn't even pay for a flight for Tama Tonga. He's back in the Isle of Samoa watching it.
But I think that's the whole idea. Is like they're kind of like doing this story with Jacob Fatu where they're letting him loose, where he doesn't need anybody out there helping him. He needs to go out there and prove himself and show everybody what he can do. And I think that's what everybody expected. I think this was probably the most predictable match on the card because I think going into it, about everybody knew that Jacob Fatu was going to dominate in this match and take the title, because they've just been teasing that for a while, doing something with him and a championship. And that's definitely what they need to do. They need to give him to that and just let him run with it, and they could really make the U.S. title relevant again. Because if you ask me, that title hasn't meant shit for like the past 6 months, because like when they let Shinsuke Nakamura beat LA Knight for the title, they went almost like 2 months or something.
He was like a witness protection program or something.
I don't know
for
what
a
the
couple
fuck was
months.
going on.
Yeah.
They
Now,
didn't
do you
do
think
anything
that
about it.
kind of deflated LA Knight's
Well, that was part of
fire
it,
a little bit?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Because I see LA Knight as I can look at him as a U.S. champion and be like, okay, this makes sense. It's a stepping stone for him. But I also see Fatu as a champion. I think that's good because to me, I look at him and I say, okay, this guy I can see facing Cody in the near future at some point.
Yeah.
So it's a good stepping stone for him to kind of see what he's like as a champion. Maybe not the champion, but how he kind of carries himself as a champion. And as he starts to lead into that next level. So I can see this was predictable because I do feel that they have a lot behind Fatu. I think that they really feel like this is what we wanted Solo to be, but this is the real deal. So let's like kind of run with this now. So I see it. I think they're both great talent to have. They both look like stars. They act like stars. I think they're both definitely WWE material. What we do now with LA Knight, not really sure. But I want to just give someone a shout out in the chat. I don't know who said it, but I think they hit it on the head. Orton's mystery partner could be Captain Howdy, and I think that's actually what
Uncle
it might
Howdy?
be.
Could be.
Yeah, Uncle, whatever. I think that might be it because I mean, to get a Wyatt thing here,
Well, they've
I
not
don't
been
know
around
where
in a
this guy's
while.
been. I mean, I don't.
That makes sense, actually.
Makes sense
Yeah,
with
because like Orton had a
right?
history
Like,
with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this could be exactly what they're going to do, and I think it would actually get a pop. And
But
I
think
did
that
see
might
a
be it.
rumor about them being there for Mania, but there was no like hints of like what they were going to do. So that would be.
I think they want Alexa to be with Bo, like kind of like a
Yeah, she's
very
been
similar
gone
she was
for quite
with-
a while too.
Well, see, that's a really good idea, actually, though, Garrett, because I didn't even think about that. But now it's kind of popped a lot of ideas in my head. Now that because the Wyatt Six have been gone for like over 3 months now, they've not been on TV at all because after they had that feud with the Final Testament, Karrion Kross's stable, and like that last match, the Karrion Kross, he beat Uncle Howdy. So now this is kind of like brought this idea to my head where what if they just get rid of the Uncle Howdy character completely and they bring back the Fiend character for Bo Dallas or whatever?
Do you think that they would do that, or do you think that they feel like
I don't think they would
people
do
would look
that.
at it as disrespectful?
I don't know, man. Like it's his fucking brother. So
I do agree that I feel like Wyatt Six came in hot, but I knew it was going to be this. They didn't know what to do with it because as a group, it's tough because what do you do with everybody else? I could see Bo Dallas being a big star with like him and just Alexa, or maybe those guys hanging around him. But like, do you really think that like any of those other dudes were going to amount to anything?
No.
Yeah.
Bunch
You know,
of
so
jabronis.
it's cool as like they're his henchmen, but as far as actual stars, he's the only one I think has potential to be a star.
Well,
so
they
I
also,
think
when
Go
they
ahead.
brought them in, they were kind of portraying them as a face stable. I think they just need to recreate this whole stable, like bring them back, maybe like you said, and have him come in and face Orton, and just have them just like absolutely like 100% heel stable, and just
Heels,
yeah. I mean I think that's the only way that type of stable is going to get over.
I think that's what they need to do tomorrow. I would pop better for a heel Howdy with Alexa and company versus Rusev Day or whatever. I would be happier with that because there's connection with Orton and the Wyatts.
Yeah, it makes
So
more sense.
it works on all levels. I mean, you know who else I really like? And he's not going to be there, but I hope they do something with Karrion Kross. I think he's great. But he's somebody else. But somebody said something funny in there. And Scott said if this was AEW, the mystery guy would be a guy from Japan that no one in the U.S. has ever. I kind of agree 100%.
Yeah,
because I don't know any of these guys. So when they always announce people, I'm kind of like the guy that they came out tonight. I'm like, who the hell is that guy attacking Gable or whatever. I never heard of this guy before. I'm like, whatever his name. What was his name?
The king.
Oh,
of-
he old Viking. Oh, Viking. No.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
like,
I
to me,
mean,
like he's probably good, but I'm not familiar with him at all.
well,
I don't know.
that's the thing though too. Like, is like a lot of these guys that are in WWE now that started out in the Indies and stuff. Nobody was really familiar with a lot of those guys until they came to the WWE, because just like the average fan doesn't go and watch all these promotions. They don't have time to do that. For somehow I do, but that's a different story.
You're in Eastern Kentucky. There ain't a whole lot to do around here.
Yeah.
But I used to back in the day when I was younger. I mean, I was watching a lot of stuff. I was buying Pro Wrestling Illustrated, looking at all those different federations on the top tens, and be like, "Oh, where can I find these?" So I was familiar with a lot of names back then. But now I barely even have time to watch the main product. So
I was like that as well because I love Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I grew up with it, and I did the same thing. That's Pro Wrestling Illustrated is pretty much how I discovered ECW for myself. Before I ever watched anything on TV or anything. But there's just so many promotions now, like out there, like just not just in the United States, but just across the world. There's so many wrestling promotions. So, but just like back then, like in the the late '80s, early '90s, and all through the '90s. There wasn't really a whole lot to to choose from. There was because there wasn't a lot of independent companies that had any notoriety at least. But you just kind of had WWF, WCW, ECW. There were some people that were kind of hardcore at that time too that were following Japan stuff and Mexico and all that. But it wasn't as how prominent it is today. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So El Grande Americano. And they did, dude, this shit's great. I'm entertained by it. Who was the guy that did the voiceover for El Grande Americano? That was so
I don't know,
killer.
but I'm telling you, everything about this Grande Americano guy tonight, what I've seen on Raw,
Chad Gable
it's honestly my favorite part of the whole damn show now.
He's awesome. I think the only thing with him is just his size, and that's why unfortunately he's always going to be a little bit of a comedic sort of character rather than he's got the talent of a main event guy.
Oh my god,
he really does.
He's got the look, the talent, 110%.
I love Chad Gable, man. I mean, El Americo or El Grande Americano. Yeah,
Right.
definitely not Chad Gable. Sorry.
And I love how they got the little head plate thing, and he puts it in. And he's like. He messes with it a little bit.
Man, that's
dude. He's like Kurt Angle to a T as far as how he can do comedy, his wrestling. Like when they were doing that thing, which one's his son? Everybody, it's got to be Gable. And they're like, it's Jason Jordan. I'm like, what
that was the
hell?
worst idea ever. I would have bet money it would have been Chad Gable.
And even now, I'm like, just make him Angle's son because it's he's like the same guy except he's a little bit shorter. But I mean, as far as his talents and he can do comedic roles just as good as Angle could. Like this guy and this Americana gimmick, I would say. Run with this thing because this match has been the highest match of Gable's career in WWE as this character that he just created. Mm-hmm. He hasn't had a big singles match in WWE on a Mania card, right?
No, this was his first one, I'm pretty sure, but it wasn't even as himself. So it's
right.
It's interesting though that Ray Phoenix, they're really high on him and he's great as well. They already wanted to beat him. That's kind of surprising.
I think what it is I think that there's something about this Gable gimmick that they are liking. It's getting over. So I think that's why he won is because there's something here. And like I said before, even if they want to make this something, and to the fact that they just bought out AAA and they want to do something, imagine him going over and becoming the Lucha AAA champion. What I would almost give that character more.
What I was thinking?
Kind of what the whole thing is.
This would be so great if they were to. Do you remember? And bring this back to kind of introduce Lucha Libre to the WWE audience a little bit.
Mike Tenay.
Lucha Libre and the Mexican Luchador segments that he used to do in WCW.
Oh, God. I could do the voice. Lucha Libre and the Mexican Luchadors.
Bring Mike Tenay back to help, at least, part-time to help with some of this shit. Be awesome.
Grande's Graveyard says he's Grande Americano.
Dude, do you remember those?
Shorty G, dude.
Do you remember those?
Oh man,
WCW?
the worst.
Do you remember those skits in WCW with Mike Tenay, like during the whole Lucha Libre and the Mexican Luchadors? Like, there's one where he's interviewing Rey Mysterio Jr. and they're walking down like this dirt road. It's supposed to be like an average city of Mexico or something, and it's like, but it just looks like it's in some third world country or something. And I'm like, man, this is kind of racist, a little bit.
Oh, there was plenty of that stuff back in the day. But yeah, I this was one of my favorite matches on the card tonight. I will say, and I think with Rey Mysterio, it's so funny that they just replaced a Rey in a mask with a Rey in a mask. It's kind of funny that's how it kind of all worked.
Yeah,
I'm actually shocked they let him use Rey Phoenix, not just Phoenix, because I'm like, you got Rey Mysterio, you're gonna have this other same guy in a mask called Rey something else.
They'll change it to Phoenix probably at some point. They'll probably take
the
Rey off there.
Maybe.
I'm shocked that they're letting him be Rey.
Yeah,
Phoenix.
it is kind of surprising.
Well, it just might be another thing, like I said earlier, like Rey Mysterio is kind of on his way out. He's already in the Hall of Fame. He's still on the active roster and all that, but I think he's not far away from retirement.
Oh, he's gotta be.
Yeah, he said that before. Yeah, he's in his last years for sure.
So I don't see them actually changing Rey Phoenix's name. I think they just let him keep that. It's kind of like an homage to Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I don't think Triple H cares as much as like a Vince would have with that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely not.
I think he's kind of like whatever. It's no big deal. Because there's somebody else. There's like somebody else in NXT that's got the same name as it's like a female or something. With a similar name as like somebody on the main roster or something. But I don't think he cares about that. But yeah, I think this has wheels, this gimmick with this guy. I thought the fact that they gave that Americano guy the entrance they gave him too with the mariachi band.
I love it.
That's great.
I love it. But like, that's the thing. If they didn't think this thing was something, they wouldn't have went through the time to give him an entrance like that. Like, he's one of the only people that had a special entrance tonight. And it kind of goes to show that I think that they think there's something here. And I actually like it even more because it's been a long, drawn out story. Like, remember he went to Dominic and he was like, where do I go to learn
the dark art of Lucha?
And then Dominic's like, oh, go here. Like, the fact that it's been full circle and like there's a story and it wasn't just he randomly showed up one day with a mask on or whatever. Like, I love that kind of long-term storytelling and where things are like it makes sense and there's like an end goal and all this other stuff. I like it, and that's why I'm hoping that this continues into more for this game.
Well, yeah, it would be a waste if they just took the mask off of them or whatever. But they could still end the angle down the line doing a mask versus mask match. I could see that.
Oh, that would definitely play into the whole Lucha Libre style too, because that's something they're definitely known for that.
Yeah, but do that way later. Like, give it another year even.
Yeah,
they could do so much with this. I love the gimmick. I hope it keeps going.
They could have other people with the mask on and like they rip it off and it's not Gable. Yep. Like, there's so much they could do with this. If they put a guy in a suit or something and they take the mask off and it's somebody else. Like, yeah.
Well, it also makes it interesting because if you look at the little vignette they did, right before the whole character showed up, where it showed Chad Gable kind of going to this like back alley and they give him this box that supposedly has the mask in it or whatever. But like that whole like scene was kind of shot how the scenes in Lucha Underground were shot back in the day. So it kind of makes it interesting. Maybe they would bring back that whole concept of these like more like theatrical, like, scenes and stuff, like where it kind of has like a more cinematic feel to it. You know what I mean?
I hope so. I think it's a good. I liked when they did that a couple of years ago for Mania when they had to. I think that there's something there, and I like that Lucha did that. It just makes it a little bit different. It gives some of these characters a little bit more like meat. Like when they can do stuff like that and build them into, it makes everybody feel important. Like now Chad Gable to me feels important because he's got something going on where that's where they need to get back to with a lot of these stars is that they need to have, everybody needs to have something to do and not just being thrown around like what they've been doing the last 15 years. You look back and when we were kids, it was like, because they used to have those superstar shows and every guy fought against a no-name jobber. By the time they all wrestled each other, you kind of felt like everybody was on the same playing field because you never saw them lose, right? So I don't care if it was Bastion Booger versus freaking Nails. They both would win every week on Superstars and destroy these shitty guys. So when they got together to wrestle for the first time, you weren't sure which one was going to go over.
That's
So
true.
when everybody's got something to do, it makes everybody feel more on the same playing field than when you have like two main eventers and then like everybody else is just low mid carders trading wins and losses. Like
Yeah,
it just
I
never
agree.
worked. It didn't work that way for the last couple of years.
Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair was for the WWE Women's Championship.
I thought it was a great match.
Probably one of the best matches on the card. I think.
Yeah.
Little
think
There were
sloppy,
some,
but
yeah, very sloppy. There were some awkward moments, dude, where
Well-
like Charlotte forgot her spot, or she seemed like she was sandbagging Tiffany. For
I
sure.
feel like
what the
I
fuck
think
was
she
that?
did. I think so, yeah.
She-
they
too
came off
looked
to
like
me
that.
like they just didn't trust each other. Like that's what I got the feeling is like they were kind of like half in and out because I wasn't sure if they completely trusted the other one. So it's like they weren't going as hard as I thought they would because she could have been like, this girl's going to try to embarrass the shit out of me tonight.
Well,
And-
I think that's why I thought it was a great match because I thought that they were just kind of like I couldn't really tell the difference if they were doing that shit on purpose or if that was just kind of like they had this really weird flow, because like I just thought they were kind of like throwing all these kind of rumors and stuff that were on social media that fans and stuff were talking about in the past couple of weeks. I thought maybe they were just kind of like putting that in there, but at the same time, like I don't really know. Maybe they were just like they wouldn't really had a really weird flow, but
Dude,
I enjoyed it.
It didn't feel like they were ever like in the pocket together, like they were on the same page.
Yeah, she got Cesaro. Did you guys see her teeth? Tiffany's teeth.
Yeah,
Yes.
That
that
was
sucks, dude. I
And-
feel bad
yeah.
for her.
Dude, that had to be painful as fuck too. Could you imagine like going through the match? Like it was over half
Yeah.
the match like that, I think.
Yeah, you
And
could
I'm
tell
not
at the
happy.
end when she was standing there, she didn't look comfortable at all.
Yeah, and
she looked really.
I'm not a Charlotte fan by any means, but Alpha Romero has he says that Charlotte is head and shoulders above every other women's wrestler in the business. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but she's definitely one of the top women in the
She
business.
was
I think
at
as
one time. I don't
as
think
far-
anymore.
well, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't mean like popularity. I mean like as far as like workers go, because if you watch that match very closely tonight between her and Tiffany, Charlotte pretty much like gives all these calls. You could see there's different parts throughout the match that she's calling all this stuff to Tiffany to try to help guide her through this match. And I just thought that was really cool because that shows that what a good worker someone is. I think
like in the ring at one time she may have been the very best, but right now Rhea Ripley in my opinion is better.
Yeah,
I would
Rhea.
agree with
Bianca
that.
I think is better as well.
Yep.
And Tiffany, for the amount of time that she's been in the ring, there's a great possibility she's just 25 years old, man.
Yeah.
That she could be the best of all time.
You
at
guys
some
think
point.
she might have been given too much too soon? Like it's
Tiffany.
yeah, Tiffany.
I think I don't know. I really
don't
like
know.
I really like her a lot. I think she's great. I like the gimmick. I like how she works. I think she's really proven herself over the last couple of years, like on how good she really is. And I don't know. I honestly, Charlotte has go away heat with me 100%. Like I don't
Same.
want it. Like if Charlotte never came back again, I could give two fucks.
It's because
Yeah.
like
I
every
just
time
don't care anymore. And I think the company has passed by Charlotte with all this time off that she's taken throughout the years to either from injuries or getting her face changed or whatever it is. Like she's lost stamina where a lot of these girls now are like out there doing their thing. And then you get Charlotte coming back and again, calling the shot. Sure. She's the vet. She's the ring general. I get it. But like Tiffany's been doing great with all these other matches for so long. Imagine her coming in and now Charlotte's just barking orders at her and like
Tiffany's more of a
who the hell
natural heel
knows?
too.
Like,
Like she's not
Yeah,
a
like-
babyface character. And I
no,
don't think she's
but
comfortable.
I don't know.
with that.
It was a weird dynamic tonight. It just to me it felt like a trust thing because we know they do have heat. So it's like Tiffany could be like, okay, this is Charlotte Flair. I felt like she was walking around on eggshells thinking that this girl's going to do something to try to embarrass me out here tonight. And
I
That
thought
is
all
true.
that
it was almost
all the
she was
distrust would
guarded. I
disappear.
felt like
She has before, like on the mic and stuff. I mean, she tried.
Right,
and
yeah.
It's, I mean, it's
guys
the
isn't
last
like
couple of weeks.
like 20% of the fucking audience knew what that meant.
Right.
Yeah, and that just goes back to what I was saying though about Charlotte. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of her or anything, but I do like appreciate like her as a worker. But as far as like, there's also things about her that really bother me. About the whole nepotism thing is one of them, and just like how she's always kind of pushed straight to the top of the bill in the women's division. So like I'm with you, Garrett, when it comes to like if she could go away right now, I don't think I'd really care. But as far as like her being an active member of the roster, but I think that she should. I don't think she will, but I just think that she should. Try to focus on working with a lot of these other women in the division and trying to help develop them. But I think it's just got to the point with her, like she's a lot like her dad. Unfortunately, there's a lot of ego there with her. And I think she's only going to focus on herself, unfortunately. But I don't know. Who's to say, people change,
And I'm curious to see what happens with Becky because for a long time, and Wes can say this too, I was literally like Becky's number one fan. Like I was like obsessed with everything Becky Lynch. And to be honest, if she went away now too, I don't think I'd even care anymore. I just don't feel like she's the Becky that won me over. Like the Becky that won me over, I feel like probably ended after she finally got that title. I mean, I think I liked Becky and the damn Bloomers more than I like Beck. What is her new gimmick? Beck. It's like that new persona
Big Time
she's got.
Becky or whatever.
Yeah, like that era where she's in like the bodysuit or whatever and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. There was something about her after she got back from having her kid or something that it just
That's what I
didn't
was going
feel.
to say too.
It didn't feel like the same Becky Lynch to me. Like it didn't have that grittiness or like that underdog feel. Like she felt too much like Charlotte, I feel like at that point. And I feel like
did
I've
like
kind of lost
a little bit of her passion, like the hunger she had before.
She almost became more like Charlotte. Like that's why I'm curious to see how she's going to be now. Is she going to be helping the young people, the young girls to get over? Or is she going to be like, okay, I'm back. This is my spot. And I'm going to take it. I'm going to run.
Who Becky? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like I'm not sure where she's going to stand in all this. And I love Becky Lynch, but I feel like people like the Rheas and a lot of these new chicks that are coming up, I'm like, that's the future now. They've overtaken these other two women who unfortunately just have they've left and come back. And I feel like they become overshadowed now by a lot of this new talent.
It could go back to what I was saying earlier. Like, there's that possibility right now of Becky replacing Bayley tomorrow night in that tag match. And even though, like how Wes said, that doesn't really like fit kind of the criteria for Becky for a comeback match. But it also could just be one of those things if she does do that, where she doesn't fit into that same kind of like category as Charlotte, where Charlotte's kind of only focused on herself, that, Becky could come back and kind of like, focus on trying to putting over these other girls and just kind of working these kind of mid-card level matches to where, like she doesn't want to have that where she's like kind of pushed straight to the main event. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what? Someone made a good point right now. I thought I saw it somewhere. Oh, Har Orman says if she comes out with Heyman, I don't know. I think if a Becky Seth heel run with Heyman is probably more interesting to me than any other thing I think they could have Becky do at this point for me, and have them almost like a power couple, like with like I don't know. I feel like that is probably a more interesting story than throwing her in the mix and just having her and Charlotte go back and forth. Or
I don't know if that would work because like they tried that before with her and Seth.
Baby faces.
They were.
I think that's what
they didn't have Heyman either. So yeah, I don't know.
I think that they need to keep those two separated as husband and wife, because I think too many fans would probably compare that to a Triple H Stephanie thing, and I don't think
it kind of is though. They're both pretty powerful in their roles at this point. Those two, unless they don't want them together. So then, when her and Charlotte feud, Charlotte can say Seth's in her DMs. So then I think maybe that's why they don't want them together.
Well, I mean, like. Well, I definitely see what you're saying, like as far as off screen, but like on screen, I don't think it should. I don't think it would work because, like I said, just a big comparison to Triple H and Stephanie, the whole Helmsley McMahon regime thing. Excuse me, God Almighty.
It's just water bowls.
But anyway,
you get choked up talking about Becky.
But that's just the whole. I don't think that's why that wouldn't work. It's just my opinion, though.
I am glad that they decided to, hey, let's beat Charlotte. Let's not let her collect another, you know, championship, because it seems like that's just been on repeat WrestleMania after WrestleMania. Hey, Charlotte's coming back. She wins the title again. And I think that that's partially why people are just sick of Charlotte. Like, it's the same thing. You know, she's out for the majority of the time. She comes back to WrestleMania to win. You know, glad they do that. I think that they realize that they're onto something with Tiffany Stratton. She is, like I said, very young, only 25 years old. And Charlotte is still less than 40 years old, but with all that work done to her face, she's starting to look a little bit more like her dad's age than she's making her look a lot older, in my opinion. She's 39 years old, but Jesus Christ.
There was like memes on the internet and stuff leading up to the match between her and Tiffany, where like it was saying like it was Tiffany versus her grandma or something like that.
Oh, they had a thing. It was who was Tiffany supposed to be, but it had Cher as Charlotte. It was like this. They had the WrestleMania logo, and Cher was supposed to be Charlotte, and it had somebody was supposed to be Tiffany. I don't remember who the other person was, but.
Have you noticed though, like a lot, like they're starting at a very young age, fucking with their face and lip injections and stuff. And what the hell? You're in your, I guess she started it when she was in her early 30s. You know, and there's probably people that do that even younger.
Recently, that I was like, what did they do? Why would they mess with themselves? I'm trying to think who it was, but you could definitely tell somebody's face looked different. And I was like, why would they mess with their face this early?
But they did do the Hall of Fame recap thing though after this match here, and
but what did you notice in that recap, dude? Where was Luger? He wasn't there.
Right.
And that makes me a little nervous because he said at the Hall of Fame he had a little tumble before the Hall of Fame and I would have probably cried, but he said they originally wanted him to walk to the podium, but he said he fell getting out of the limo at the Hall of Fame ceremony, and he wouldn't be able to walk. But he stood.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. That was the first thing that I noticed when they were doing that whole segment. I was like, wait a minute, where's Luger? And I think that I sent like Wes a message immediately. It's like, what happened to Luger? I was like, and then my brother, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, just made a joke like, well, maybe like he was like taking a huge shit and just like he couldn't make it out in time or something.
I mean, I would rather have him taking a huge shit and couldn't make it out in time than like find out something happened to him after this.
Yeah, exactly.
Last night and this morning and today.
They didn't even mention him really either.
No.
When they showed the clip from the Hall of Fame, they didn't mention him.
Did he say anything last night that could have been offensive anywhere? Like, I'm trying to think, like, did he say something that they were like, let's just get him out of here?
No, but I thought it was really weird that he didn't mention one thing about Sting in his whole speech.
I agree. I don't know why they did that.
That had to be by design, because I know he wanted Sting there. So.
Right.
But if you look at the video, Mark, right before Luger came out, they showed all these people talking about Luger, and one of them was Sting in the video. So why was he not mentioned in Luger's speech?
Yeah,
Conspiracy
that's very
strange.
I don't know.
All right, so this leads us to the main event of the night, which was the triple threat match: Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and not for a championship, but for Paul Heyman in this match.
And Paul Heyman on a pole match.
Yeah. Remember that match in WCW with Judy Bagwell on a pole? But
forklift.
It was a forklift, though. It wasn't actually a pole. It was a forklift.
You couldn't find a pole. For
that was the one thing I think hurt this match, is that there was no real stipulation at the end. Like, I think it was the star power was there.
Yeah.
The Heyman angle's kind of cool, but like, I mean, how hard it would have been to been like, the winner gets a title shot, at their choosing or whatever. Like, any stipulation, this is for the number one contendership, I think really would have just made this feel more important than basically be like, hey, these guys are the main event just because they're like bigger stars than our champion is.
I thought that's the way they were going to go initially, where it would be like Punk would get a shot at the championship, maybe even in night 2 if he had won the match here tonight, but they didn't do anything. It was kind of weird.
Well, now that you guys mentioned that kind of like popped this idea in my head of like, so what if like with the pairing between Rollins and Heyman now, and we were talking about Jey Uso earlier, maybe if they just he's not going to have the title long if he stays face. What if they have Rollins challenge for the title on Raw and beat Jey Uso on Raw for the title?
I mean, I think Seth Rollins with Heyman and maybe make his character a little. I'm not a fan of the new Rollins character at all. I liked more of like Architect, maybe
Yeah,
I think
blonde
they're
short
going
in the
back
hair.
to that.
I
think
like
that- I
that
hope
Rollins.
so.
I don't
That.
like the flamboyant. What I don't really know what his gimmick is. Rollins.
Michael Hayes.
When he had
So-
the flunkies and stuff, that was the best version of Seth Rollins when he was the first.
Oh, he had
first
this.
time.
Yeah, I like
championship.
that.
Yeah.
I like that. But I think having Heyman, you could see his face. He had that different demeanor. Like he had that more aggressive, like mean looking Rollins. And that I was like, okay, that's the Seth Rollins that I always loved. So if he becomes that like really dirty heel with Heyman, I could see this being a whole new evolution of Rollins where he can just jump and get that title and feel fresh again.
What if
They
he
got to
just
change the
comes out-
music or something though. Like the fans, I think
Well,
are still going to cheer and
yeah.
sing along. Like it's still going to feel the same. They got to do a complete like character change, like
because
music and everything.
I mean, with everything that happened at the end of that match, I mean, I think that pretty much like they, that solidified. He's going to be a 100% heel now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
At least in this whole story against Roman and Punk. I mean, but yeah, I think that would make sense to just kind of change his whole look, his music, everything. I mean, I know most people will probably be against this, but if I were, to go all out with that, I would just have him cut his hair, like have a really short haircut, and just or just.
He's never cutting his hair. I've heard him talk. I don't think that's ever happening.
I don't know, just like he needs to have like a really really different look to go with this.
Maybe he could
Jay's
shave
out.
his beard. Could maybe do that.
Hey,
Wouldn't
Jey
think
Uso's
about
in
it.
here.
Yeet, bro.
Yeah.
Congrats on the title win.
Yeah, congrats,
Thanks,
Jim.
Jay.
For being here.
Yeah, but the match was great. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting anything other. But
Yeah.
man, the MVP of the match again is freaking Paul Heyman. Like I found myself just watching what he was doing, the facial expressions out there in the match.
Well,
Like, dude, I don't know if anybody in the WWE understands wrestling better than Paul Heyman.
yeah, I
This is
agree. I mean, he's a
Old school
genius.
that we
man.
talked about with psychology and all that stuff. Like all those old vets,
Yeah.
dude, they get it. It's like I don't think the psychology aspect is taught anymore. It's all about like
Well,
rate or whatever. But like you're right. Like you watch Paul Heyman, it's like why does nobody else do that? Fuck it, I'd get more managers around too. To be honest with you, that's another
Stable.
missing
That's
piece to
something
the
that
puzzle of wrestling.
yeah. And Paul Heyman, he took a lot of that from Bobby Heenan, and Paul Heyman will tell you that himself. Like, if it weren't for Heenan, you would never seen a lot of the stuff.
fucking Alpha
Dude,
Romero. Come
I
on.
was that was bothering me all night. Those teeth.
Man.
He said he's
they
going
almost
to
look like-
Hollywood. He
They
got
yeah, but you know what? I will say Roman looked great. His physique was like he was
Yeah.
ripped, and I haven't
Yeah.
seen him look that good in a long time. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's like his Hollywood physique. The teeth,
Mhm.
they almost they would look like dentures. I didn't know what those.
What it
things were.
is,
They
is
looked
dude,
weird.
dentures look better than that. What that is that's those fucking veneers that they put over
But
your
it
regular
looks very
teeth.
fake. It almost looked plastic.
And
Like
it's
he's wearing
like-
like those
they're-
vampire teeth or something.
it's
that you
like
get
the
at the
fucking-
store.
One of the little guys from Seven Little Johnston's, he can't close his fucking mouth.
I mean, it's not as bad as like when he came back years ago, like when he was doing
Blue
the whole
eyes?
the big dog thing. When he had, the blue. That's the thing that bothered me.
oh man.
Was the blue eyes? It was like so distracting. Like, what the fuck?
He's the only Samoan in the world with baby blue eyes.
Baby blue. But yeah, he was super tan, super ripped, and those teeth were super white. So I mean, it looks like to me he's probably looking to make a move to Hollywood or something with that. I don't think he got that
Dude, like,
decked out
That's what he
on
said.
a regular to become back to
Well,
WWE full time.
If he
There
does
was-
that, then he needs to really work on his acting skills, because I mean he does great as far as like promos and stuff go in wrestling, but like I don't know if you guys watched that movie that he did with The Rock, Hobbs and Shaw.
I don't know.
Yeah. He had no
And,
lines. He didn't talk.
I mean, but he
I've
just-
never
no,
watched a
well,
movie
that's-
like that.
That's true. He didn't have any lines, but just like you felt like he was very stiff, was very awkward in that role.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think really needs to work on that. If
You think he's
gonna
just
go
looking
for
at
Hollywood.
Momoa and he's probably like, maybe I could just take all this dude's roles because he's
Yeah, he's gonna be Jason Momoa's like stunt double or something.
he's gonna be like Aquaman. They're gonna throw him out. Nobody will notice.
That'd be awesome.
Somebody says, "Oh, Jey Uso's spoiling. He's just told us Cody's winning tomorrow."
Damn it!
Okay.
Jay's spoiling the card for tomorrow.
I'm really interested in seeing what they do with that match because, like, I can't really predict that one. Like, I'm like, what?
Cena's winning. 100%.
Yeah, it's
The
got
timing as well, though, too. Like, do you already have Cena winning and breaking Flair's record already?
Yeah, Cena's 100% winning. If you look at the patterns of how WWE does things on their like go home shows, so that interaction between him and Cody last night, Cody got the better of that because he takes him out the crossroads at the end of all that. So that pretty much tells me that Cena's 100%.
Whoever stands
win.
tall, yeah, then they win on the show. The other guy
That's
wins on the
true.
show.
I mean, they normally do that, but
But what though?
storyline-wise, what's
but
going on?
then what? Like, does Cena just go all year to finish off his career as a heel? Like, I feel like it's got to be a swerve somewhere.
Well, he's going to
right?
have to turn face towards the end again. We all know
You
that's
think? You
gonna
think
happen.
so?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Now, what's Cena's
possibly.
hair situation? I saw him the other night. It looked like he shaved all the under that
I
hat.
don't
Is he going back to like the crew cut thing
I
again?
doubt it.
just like my thoughts on that is that he just kind of has this whole reign of terror throughout the rest of this year, kind of like how Triple H did with the Evolution stuff. And then so there's this whole like plan right now. It's not really a plan; it's just kind of rumor right now, as his last match is going to be this whole event that's kind of centered around him. They're going to call it Ruthless Aggression, and I think they're going to have somebody. If they're going to continue going with Cody as like their main guy, then Cody's going to be the one that's going to have to take the belt back from him, I think. And typically, in wrestlers' last matches, they always lose. But they could swerve us and just have him go out as the champion, then vacate it, and just pull a 92 Royal Rumble, like we have the title on the line at the Rumble after he retires, and just
I would love a title on the line Rumble, to be honest.
because if you think and where's the Rumble next year? Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
So-
God.
Oh no!
So they're going to want to go all out with that.
How
shit.
could you hop that show up? Is it it's just a one night, though, isn't it? One day, right?
Yeah, it's one night, I think.
Would you love to see Mania back in the UK? Would you?
I think a lot of people would, but
I think they're
thing
going to
is-
do it eventually.
I mean, maybe not Mania or SummerSlam. I would love to see a big event back at like Wembley or something like that. Like,
But do you feel like that the fan base for WWE is bigger in the US or the UK?
the UK.
I probably think UK just because they don't get it. So for them, it's going to be like insane.
But the people in the US are also going to complain because of the
They're going to
time
complain,
thing.
but I do think the hardcores are going to go over there
Right.
because they're all rich anyways, right?
Yeah, that
So-
green shirt guy's definitely going to.
Yeah, he's at every show.
I don't think he makes the Saudi Arabia shows, but other than that, he's always there.
But yeah, like I don't know. I kind of predicted, and I'm sure, like you said, everybody predicted Rollins. There was going to be a swerve there because it was just the easy answer. In my head, I was thinking. In my head, I was like, how killer would it be if Brock showed up, beat the shit out of everybody, and Heyman just left with Brock? Like,
Now,
I thought that would have been cool because it would have been different, but then I'm like, that would be awesome, but I just didn't see that happening. It would be a cool swerve or whatever, but I guess now it sets up something with Rollins that maybe he just needed. He was getting very stale. to
Yeah,
me.
and I had another good idea before if they were going to not do the stuff, which isn't. I doubt they're going to do this now, but like because where they got Heyman going with Rollins, but I thought about this whole idea the other day about with the whole Cena stuff and him with the Rock, and if they end up having this big stable, kind of Hollywood type stable, that they would bring Rollins, Punk, and Roman together as a team to be the ones that would take them down.
I mean,
But-
it could still happen. I mean, they could easily forgive and forget if there was a bigger threat, at the realm. But I think the problem with all that is, and I think it sounds great in theory, and I would love it, but Rock is just not dependable enough to make that work on the regular. Like, I mean, I think that was a hard thing too. Like, even Cena's schedule, like, I think not having him there a bunch of weeks kind of hurt as well.
And it's just hard, really hard to say and really you don't know what to believe when they they say this stuff at these press conferences. But that last press conference that The Rock was at, he was talking about I think it was after Elimination Chamber. He was just talking about how everything that you're seeing happening is happening for a reason, and there's so much more of this story that people have not even seen yet.
I think he's full of shit.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It could be one of those deals where he's just full of shit. He's just saying all this stuff
because the whole thing with The Rock. Is he even going to be there tomorrow?
That's what I'm hoping.
So.
Yes,
he should be.
I mean,
So,
he has to be.
To me, if he's going to be there this year, Austin is there. They've got to do that thing with The Rock and
I think that's the plan. I think that's definitely going to happen. I mean, this is not like billed as a bloodline rules match or no disqualification or anything. But I mean, definitely there's always that scenario where the ref gets taken out or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what a lot of people have been thinking this past week.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Austin lives in Vegas now, right?
I think
he lives there.
I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like I've seen something where
one of his houses is there.
He was
looks
living,
great,
something like that.
Oh yeah.
On that Hall of Fame, I'm like, holy shit, Brett has aged. Austin hasn't aged a bit. Like,
oh man,
it's wild.
You guys got to, if you haven't watched the Hall of Fame yet.
That's a good thing about being bald headed, son.
If you guys haven't watched the Hall of Fame yet, like you got to watch, if any of those inductions on there, you got to watch the Bret Hart and Stone Cold induction, because just knowing how Bret is, and I know a lot of people see stuff, interviews and stuff about him on social media, man. Every bit of that shit is true, because if you watch, like when he goes and talks first, and like Stone Cold,
and how much do you, like? I watched it too, and the whole time I'm thinking to myself, he's digging at Goldberg, isn't he?
Oh my god, yes, and also he would have talked that whole time. He would have been like, "Fuck Stone Cold, I'm going to talk this whole time if they let me." But they kind of, and then if you watch the end of that, like right as they're getting ready to do like the drink the beer and everything with Stone Cold, like. Bret Hart has to get the last word in. He kind of leans in and goes,
"Hell yeah,
hell yeah!"
Yeah.
He didn't want to get beer on him or anything like that, but like,
oh man,
Bret's so
was
funny,
he wanted some Molson.
Yeah, like he grabbed the mic and he's like, "Oh, it was a great match. It was one of the best matches of my career, And he's like, the thing that really makes that match work and what makes other matches work is you really have to trust the guy you're in there with, and knowing that he's not good, that he's going to take care of you and take care of your body. That's what makes wrestling work." Like, and in my head, I'm thinking to myself, he's just digging Goldberg, basically.
That's 100% what it was, dude. That's 100% what it was.
And me and Steve, we always had respect for each other, because as professionals, you need to respect and trust the guy you're in the ring with, and that's where the magic happens.
Dude, that's what it was for sure.
Oh my god,
had to be.
You gotta love Brett.
Yeah, I look forward
Brett's
to checking
Brett,
it out.
Man,
but, like, do you guys think that and here's my thing. There's too much stuff over the course of WrestleMania weekend. I think the Hall of Fame would be great if they could move it to like its own weekend away from, like maybe on Royal Rumble or SummerSlam or something like that.
I don't mind watching it on Friday. It was just on at a shit time. Like,
right.
But
you've got SmackDown on typically on Fridays.
Right. So, yeah, I didn't watch that. So
did you see what they're doing tomorrow? I think it's before Mania. They're doing the Slammies tomorrow.
Oh,
are you serious?
God.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
this morning was NXT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched some of that. I mean, I do kind of enjoy this because it's like a weekend event. So for me, that it's like I try to just block my whole weekend off once a year and just say, you know what, this is all I'm doing today. I'm just gonna watch all this shit, and it's kind of like a nice, relaxing. I'm gonna be on the couch weekend to just get all this in. And I thought the Hall of Fame, I like it. I'm glad they went back to a building instead of had it in the ring. That sucked when they were in the ring. I didn't. This is back in like a big hall like they used to do it. And I thought. I know there's people that are back and forth about Triple H's speech. I loved it.
Yeah,
I know there's people
That's great.
that
I loved it.
had issues with it, the length, some of the stuff he talked about, they weren't happy with. That shit doesn't bother me. I thought his speech was very inspirational. It was emotional. I could feel
I
emotion
loved
on a
it,
lot of the
yeah.
speech, like myself. And some of the stuff that he said, like, really kind of hit home with me. Like, I think there was a quote on there, and I was actually looking for it on the internet today, but I couldn't find it, where he said something about, you never know who you're going to meet in life, and you should always, give someone a nod or a hello or be nice to them or respectful,
Yeah,
because you never know, what that person's going through, or never know, if you're ever going to run into that person again. And it was inspirational because when you look at Triple H's career and you look at where he is now and you listen to his speech, man, he hooked up every person that did him right throughout his career. Now that he has the power to do that, all these people that in an egotistical environment like pro wrestling, or even on anything, like you could even say on YouTube, right? It could be anything. There's always going to be egos there when there's business and all this other stuff. But the people that put that aside and lent a hand to this young guy looking up and coming,
like the trainer guy and the guy that, like,
dude, like he gave all these people fucking jobs.
Yeah,
now.
that was amazing.
Your William Regals, your Terry Taylors, they're all now being rewarded by Triple H and where he is in his career because they weren't assholes to him in the past. And I think that's a huge thing for people to kind of learn, is like, you got to treat people the right way, because you never know what that's going to do for them or to you going forward. And it was great to see. And I thought the Terry Taylor thing, like, I marked out for that, because he's like, I want to give a shout out to Terry Taylor. And, nobody ever, Terry Taylor was a laughing stock for a long ass time
And
with the
still
Red
is,
Rooster
basically.
bullshit. Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that he gave him this big shout out, and Terry Taylor's a big time, he's like an NXT, exec now, or trainer, or whatever he's doing down there. But he gave him a shout out, and then all of a sudden he's like, he's not here tonight. He had a medical situation happen this morning. He's not here, but I just want him to know. And all of a sudden he raises his hand. He goes,
yeah.
You're here? He's like, you're here? And he's raised his hand. He goes, oh my God, like, nothing's going to keep this dude down. Like, it was cool to see, no matter what that was that happened to him that day, he still showed up. And it's like, shit, that's what made Terry Taylor still a liable, like, person now, is it's no matter what he was given, like, he makes shit fucking happen, dude. He makes it work. This guy was in the hospital and he still made it for Triple H's speech. And it just goes to show, how much he's given back to the people that gave him, something in the past. And it was cool to see that.
What about Michelle McCool's speech? Was it good?
It was okay. It didn't last that long. I thought it was fine.
I thought it was long as fuck, dude.
What?
I thought he talked for like 20 minutes.
Oh, did you? I didn't really notice. I was trying to think if anybody's felt draggy to me. I was pretty entertained. I actually marked out and laughed when Tugboat or whatever, or friggin' Ottman, he says in one part, he goes, John would be smiling right now when he saw everybody here for him, and he's like, he'd be smiling with his little dimples. He's so cute. He said, I fucking was laughing, and people in the audience are like dying laughing. I'm like, it was just such a funny thing for him to say. He was so cute.
But like, going back to like the Triple H one though, yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said, and that's really all that stuff stood out to me the most about his speech. And someone here in the chat said, it was a really long speech. It was like an hour and 7 minutes long, but I think it was needed. I think definitely everything that he said was so effective to just not only like the crowd there, but just everybody watching, like, because it really kind of put a lot of stuff in perspective for me. And just kind of, I already respected Triple H, but I respect him even more, just based on the stories and his whole speech, and just having the balls to even talk about Vince the way he did in his speech. And just, because, a lot of people ain't going to agree with this, but Triple H was right, when he kind of was alluding to the fact that if it weren't for Vince, then a lot of this shit that we love today wouldn't even fucking exist. And despite what he did or whatever, he used that whole term complicated. It is a complicated situation, but Vince McMahon and everything he's put together is one of the reasons why I am a wrestling fan. So, I mean, I think a lot of people is the same way.
I
What do
agree.
you
That
guys-
was the biggest issue with the Vince thing. Everybody's pissed that he brought up Vince, but I'm like, but what was he supposed to do? Like
Exactly.
if it wasn't for Vince, he would have never gotten the opportunity to be in on those production meetings, or he
Yeah.
handed this dude the company. This isn't his son. This is his.
Right. How do
this
you
is
not
his
talk about him?
son-in-law, right?
Right.
Like, so I think it was understandable that he wanted to, and he even said, like, listen, I've been contemplating with saying this all day. Like, you could tell it was something he wasn't even sure he wanted to bring up, but the way he did it, I felt like was pretty well done. Like he said, it's complicated. It's it's like it's a complicated situation, but he did help me get where I am, and I think he did the best he could with the situation that he was given, and I don't have a problem with it at all. I don't think he needed to totally just not mention him, but I also found it funny. Like, I don't think he mentioned The Rock at all.
That's what I was going to say. The same thing. Like, I thought that was the only thing I felt was missing from that entire speech. He doesn't mention The Rock one time.
I thought he was
and I
gonna
wonder
get
if that's
to him
going
at
to
some
bite him
point.
in the ass in the future. Because also, too, when he was mentioning Nick Khan looked kind of annoyed, to be
Yeah, he
quite
looked
honest.
pissed.
Well, he mentions that he doesn't like having the spotlight on
I'm
him. and
hoping
all
that, like,
So he made
part
it
of me is just like,
weird
I
like
hope
that.
to God this isn't some kind of Rock Nick Khan thing where it's like, hey, let's get Triple H in the Hall of Fame this year because he's out soon. Like, let's get him in, and then he's like,
Let's
but
give him the
dude,
ring and beat the shit out.
but you don't know, dude. These guys, they don't give a fuck, dude, about this shit. Like, they could fire Triple H next year. They could, and he's in the Hall of Fame, so they don't need him anymore. If he's gonna,
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, you never know with what these guys.
I
are
think
going
they're happy with what's going on.
I think
it
so,
seems
too.
like
I do,
everything's-
but who knows, man?
because
it's scary.
yeah.
If you look at everything that Triple H talked about, and just like the whole videos they were showing throughout that night of Hall of Fame, like it just seems like that dude like works his fucking ass off for the company to try to give the best, program that he can to everybody. And I mean, why would I know there's people that have done more for the business in the past that have just kind of like thrown away like they were garbage or something. But I mean, in this day and age, do you really do that? You know what I mean?
Michelle McCool, though, what I was getting at is she doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Dude, she did not have a Hall of Fame career, even in the Divas women division. It didn't happen.
But do you
Layla
think-
L, her tag partner, had
She
a
was
much
there.
better career as a wrestler. And hers, I don't think she was even a Hall of Fame wrestler. Which
No.
she's not
I
in the
feel
Hall
like
of Fame.
Michelle McCool was champion for a long ass time back in the day. Like, I almost got annoyed with her because she felt
She
like a very
was.
Charlotte Flair, where I was like, it's always fucking McCool all the time.
She
So
was the first ever Divas champion, I think. So, and they used that as kind of an excuse in the whole like promo video for
But
her.
like,
for
what was one like segment, one match?
But
I
that was a
can't name
bad
anything.
time for the women's
It was.
division, though, I feel like it was a very bad time.
But
so I think
nobody
like
ever talked about her or even having good matches. Like I never remember anybody mentioning her ever.
Well,
so it's almost
no.
like one of those deals where, hey, she's the Undertaker's wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's make him happy.
And that's the only reason that happened, and it's very problematic in the sense that Layla at this point, if they were going to induct Michelle McCool, it would have to be her and Layla as Lay Cool.
probably should have been, to be honest. 'Cause
Right.
Layla was
But
there.
And that's why it's problematic, because at this point, since Michelle McCool's went in, just because she's Undertaker's wife, Layla doesn't stand a chance of ever getting in the Hall of
No.
Fame at this point. I don't think.
No, unless they do it as Lay Cool, but to have her in twice would be a little bit.
Yeah, that's overkill.
I didn't
That
even-
would
I
make
didn't even-
Undertaker happy,
yeah.
though.
I didn't even
Uh,
consider that, but that could definitely happen, and that's wild.
But I
mean,
forgot about this, Scott. Scott's in the chat, and this was true. I actually did cringe a little bit on this. She told a story about her dad beating her when she was a kid to show how tough she was. And I thought that was kind of a weird story to tell. That, like, she's like, the first time he did it, I was like, I don't care. And the next time he did it, I was like, and then finally I was like, okay, it hurts now. And he was like, that's what it, and I'm like, that's kind of a weird
He said, didn't
story
he
to
say
tell.
that like he took a dinner roll?
You can take a beating now,
Like,
Michelle.
he threw a dinner roll off her head once or something.
Yeah, something like that. I was like, what the fuck? Because I was sitting there watching. I was like, bitch, who the fuck cares about this shit? Like,
But I'm worried if I'm like sitting there and I'm like, Jesus, your poor father now looks like he was like he's like beating his
yeah,
kids.
because they would like pan to her dad in the crowd, and he would be like,
Yeah,
hanging
the look on his face. Yeah, I was like, what the hell? What's going on?
I'll tell you something else that pisses me off though too. Like
Undertaker hits me all the time. too.
Kamala was in the Hall of Fame as like the what do they call that wing? Like the legacy
The
wing.
The
or
Legacy
something.
Hall, yeah, Legacy Wing.
For years and years and years and years, they could have inducted him while he was alive. And the same thing with
Yeah.
Vader when Vader was alive.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Oh man, did you see when they were doing last night when they were showing Dory Funk Sr. as part of the Legacy Hall of Fame? Like it cuts to Dory Funk Jr., who's like 90 years old or something now in the crowd, and they're like lifting him up, and you can see his like he mouthed the words, "What are we doing here?" And I was
Bro, I
like,
can't believe Dory Funk Jr. is still around. I mean, he
Dude,
looked
like,
old and he
he's a
came out of
tough
the
old son of
Rumble
a
like
bitch,
in like
man.
95.
I felt like, you know, when they announced him, like there wasn't
Like,
a whole lot of applause or anything. Like, dude,
In the
like,
fucking 80s, they
Dude.
called him Hoss Funk. That's what they called him in the WWF.
yeah,
They didn't call him Dory. He was Hoss.
man,
It
Dory
was
Funk
Hoss
Jr.
Funk,
though,
boss.
like he was the, you know, if you're not real familiar with his stuff, like, you know, go back and watch ECW from 1994 and what him and Terry Funk did together. They're really what helped establish ECW. If you go back and look at it,
Well,
it's,
the other legacy guys, Ivan Koloff, who evidently they had a he and Vince had a bad relationship.
they
or something,
hated each other.
Because he was another one that was alive for hell and ever. He died probably a few years ago.
Yeah, I think it's one of those deals where, like, because do you know the whole deal between Vince and King Kong Bundy?
No.
Well, it's a long story, but it's kind of the same deal. With
We ain't
that.
got time. We got to go to bed, boys.
Wait, hold on a second. I watched the Hall of Fame. Was Demolition not part of this, or they were?
No, they're not
No.
part of it.
They were in the
for some
crowd
reason
though.
Oh, I didn't notice them. For some reason, I thought they were going in this year. Okay, never mind. So,
Yeah, they were in the crowd. So were Barbarian and Warlord. They were there too.
I
They're
didn't
hoping
know.
they'll both live until next year, and they might get in at the end.
I hope they do get in it. They deserve it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Alpha. That's what I was saying. In the '96 Rumble, Dory Funk looked really old. When
He's one of those guys that always look fucking old, though. He was like Leslie Nielsen. He looked like he was like 75 for like 30 years.
But tomorrow should be better, I think. Tomorrow should
Definitely.
be better. I hope to have some surprises. I just don't want to. I want something different. I just don't want to do match by match with clean wins and all this other stuff.
I said
Predictable stuff, yeah.
I said this as a joke earlier about like Matt Riddle being that mystery opponent for Randy, but you know, not only would it fit because of their like connection, their history, but tomorrow is also 420.
Oh baby. It's gonna be a good night. I mean, I think Braun Breaker's fun to watch. I mean, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
The one that makes the most sense, though, for Orton's opponent would be Uncle Howdy, I think.
I hope that's.
I think
what it is.
that's
It'll be
the-
a cool entrance. And
That may be it.
But, guys, we're going to get rolling. We've been here for over 2 hours. We are coming back tomorrow, immediately after WrestleMania Night 2. And
I wish.
it's Eugene, boss. I would see 420 makes sense for RVD as well.
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
boy.
We'll see. I like surprises.
Cheech and
so.
Chong is coming to the ring.
Hey, man, cheechandchong.com. Cruise juice. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Everyone have a good night, and we'll be back and ready to attack tomorrow night, boys. I think I've got an outro for this. Maybe I don't. Yeah, I want all these people to click everything they're supposed to click.
You haven't been liking them, you haven't been subscribing to them, you haven't clicked the bell or notification or anything like that.
Folks, why don't you click the like button?
Do you hate us? Do you not want to see us succeed?
Why don't you click the heart button?
Is this something that you have against our particular show?
Why don't you subscribe?
You should click on one of them buttons right now if you want us to continue to breathe greatness into your life.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last Out on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Special thanks goes out to our supporters on Patreon. You know what kind of stuff you can get on Patreon, Uncle Bill, starting at only $1 a month?
What's that?
Access to every Dead Pit show since 2005. We got almost 200 fan commentaries that we've done over the decades.
Here's what other fucking Patreons do. They're like, hey, give us money and then we'll let you see a video early that we're going to release like a fucking week from now, and then that's all we're going to give you. Meanwhile, we have a literal jukebox full of songs, thousands of reviews. I don't even know how many shows are up on there now that we've done over the years.
Hundreds of thousands.
You need to figure this out now and subscribe to us on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram and help us to 1 million. The road to 1 million subscribers starts today.
So deadpitonpatreon.com. Join today. Tiers start at only $1, but I'd recommend at least the $10 tier.
You can do 50. The stock market's crashing